Part 44. God Level Tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tien Tien Taido. Chapter 434. Those monks all hid their cultivation and went directly to their seats and sat down like ordinary tourists. But in the eyes of Li Hao and Ye Hongxiu, the cultivation of these people was naturally clearly perceived by them without hiding anything. Those people were all men, some from their own country and some foreigners. Tell Li Hao directly that these people should come from the blonde woman next to him. This woman was sitting in the corner, but she kept a vigilant look on her face. Li Hao saw this woman. Although she had blonde hair and blue eyes, she looked a bit like a native of China. She should be of mixed race, with an impressive bust, a very tall figure, and good-looking appearance. She received a perfect score of 100 points. If so, it must be 90 percentile no matter what. When Li Hao looked at the woman also looked at Li Hao and couldn't help but frown. Sophie felt Li Hao's eyes and suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. She had been pampered since she was a child. Which boy would dare to stare directly at her? Immediately, Sophie said coldly to Li Hao, "What are you looking at? Haven't you seen beautiful women?" Li Hao couldn't help but was stunned again when he heard what the other party said. "You mean me?" Li Hao couldn't help but ask. "Who else could it be but you?" Sophie frowned again and said coldly, "Damn, that's so funny. Do you think I've never seen it? I've seen so many beauties, I don't know how many streets I've passed you by. Didn't you notice that there's one right next to me? She's much prettier than you. Already." Li Hao was immediately unhappy. Where did he get the confidence from? He just glanced at him. Li Hao immediately said with a smile, saying he was not used to the other party, "You think so? Hongxiu." As he spoke, he looked at Ye Hongxiu beside him, stretched out his hand, put it on Ye Hongxiu's shoulder, and said to Ye Hongxiu with a playful smile, "If you don't want to die, just take your hand away." Ye Hongxiu felt Li Hao's hand on her shoulder, looked at Li Hao coldly, and said lightly, "Did this guy take the courage of a leopard? How dare you take advantage of her? Well." The smile on Li Hao's face suddenly condensed, and he said weakly, and quickly took his hand away. Li Hao felt that a terrifying power was about to burst out from Ye Hongxiu's body. "Don't be angry, don't be angry. You won't be beautiful when you are angry," Li Hao said again. Hearing Li Hao's words, Ye Hongxiu's eyes burst out with anger again. "Well, I have to sit for many hours. Why am I feeling sleepy? I'll go to bed first." Li Hao's expression became condensed again. "If you talk too much, you will be wrong." He immediately changed the subject and then closed his eyes directly, acting as if he was going to sleep. Damn it, if he couldn't beat him, Li Hao would never be so cowardly. "When I become an Earth Immortal in the future, I must let you know how powerful I am." Li Hao murmured in his heart again. Ye Hongxiu's cold look gave Li Hao a desire to conquer, but he can't defeat him now. One day he will become an Earth Immortal. To get the other person to call him daddy. Opposite me, when Sophie heard Li Hao's words, her eyes were filled with fire. Her beautiful eyes landed on Ye Hongxiu, and her brows furrowed a little deeper. I have to say that this woman is indeed good-looking, with appearance, figure, and there was also that otherworldly temperament that made Sophie have to admit that the other party was indeed a beauty that was no worse than her. Sophie was unhappy, so when she saw that the other party was silent, she stopped saying anything and closed her eyes. Taking off from Jiangbei, it takes 7 or 8 hours to fly directly to Sunset City, the capital of Sunset Kingdom. I hope nothing happens. Sophie murmured in her heart that she had very important things to do when she went to Sunset Country this time. She wanted to inherit what belonged to her, and if she didn't go this time, her uncle and his family would probably swallow the things that belonged to Sophie and his family. Moreover, Sophie wants to seek justice for her father. Sophie has been very low-key when she goes back this time. She just hopes to reach the Sunset Kingdom smoothly and stand up at the critical moment to defeat her uncle's conspiracy. Sophie just hoped that this journey would go smoothly and nothing would happen. For some reason, Sophie felt a little uneasy in her heart. The next moment, Sophie slowly closed her eyes and rested her mind. The flight was smooth sailing, and half an hour passed quickly. They had crossed hundreds of miles from the Jiangbei border, and were about to leave the border of Dewa. But at this moment, buzz buzz. The plane suddenly started to turbulence, causing everyone on the plane to change their expressions. Ah! What's going on? What happened? Is it air turbulence? For a moment, the passengers on the plane immediately screamed and even said in confusion, "Should it be okay?" Everyone prayed in their hearts that nothing would happen. This is on a plane. If something happens, it will be very dangerous. If there is an accident and a crash, everyone will be dead. Originally, the plane bumped for a while and then stabilized again. But at this time, Xinjiang. A faint electric current sound appeared in the plane's radio. The next moment, a strange man's voice suddenly sounded on the radio. "Excuse me, everyone. From now on, I have the final say on this flight." As the man's voice resounded in this space, everyone on the plane couldn't help but change their faces. What does this mean? Who the hell are you? Are you the captain? Everyone frowned and said in confusion. But at this time, a tourist exclaimed again. Why did the plane change direction? What's going on? What? Changed direction? What the hell, what is going on? At this time, someone found something wrong. From the mobile phone, they saw that the plane's heading had changed, and it could be seen from the window that the plane was indeed changing its heading. For a moment, everyone said with some dissatisfaction, "Quiet. You all be quiet." At this moment, someone suddenly stood up again. The person who stood up was a bald man, and he shouted at everyone in a stern voice. Boom! At the same time, a strong momentum was released from the bald man. Instantly, everyone felt a sense of oppression. Afterwards, one figure after another stood up. There were 7 or 8 figures, and each figure was full of a strong momentum, as if it was everything. At this time, other people also wanted to stand up from their seats. Everyone sit down. From now on, this plane is under our control. Those who don't want to die, sit down. Among those figures, someone else said to everyone in a stern voice. Hearing this person's words, and the sense of oppression brought by these figures, and seeing the ferocious look on their faces, all of them suddenly changed their faces, and waves of turmoil arose in their hearts. What's going on? Need to say it? Hijacking. They are going to hijack. At this time, another female tourist stood up in shock. Snap! But the next moment, a slap landed heavily on the woman, knocking her over. A scream came out of the woman's mouth again. Her face was swollen and her mouth was bleeding. At the same time, some other tourists around couldn't help but stand up at this moment. They were unwilling to be controlled by others and wanted to attack these people. Bang! Puff! Immediately, these tourists who stood up screamed, their bodies were blown away, and blood was vomited. In just a blink of an eye, these tourists who wanted to resist were suppressed by force, and their end was miserable, with blood vomiting from their mouths, and some even had their bones broken. Don't ask for trouble. If you do it again, I will kill people. I advise you to sit in your seats obediently. Everyone's face was pale at this moment, and their eyes were filled with deep shock and fear. These people are all ruthless. It's terrible, they actually encountered hijackers, and the other party was really heavy. What to do? Everyone didn't know what to do. They could only sit in their seats obediently, not daring to make any movements. I can't resist. The other party was not an ordinary person at first glance, and there were 7 or 8 people, obviously well prepared. For a while, everyone's heart fell to the bottom. You two stay here, and the others follow me to the first-class cabin. At this time, the leader among the few people said directly. This was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 30s, with a strong body and a fierce momentum. Yes, Brother Bayao. Immediately, someone responded directly. This man named Brother Bayao is from the Long family in Mobei. Their Long family is a hidden family. They have been practicing for many generations. There used to be a master in the family, but in this generation, Long Bayao is the strongest, with the cultivation of the early stage of the Jindan realm. And this time, the reason why he brought these people to hijack the plane was actually for a mixed-race woman. This woman seemed to have a very special status in the Sunset Country. She was a direct descendant of a super noble in the Sunset Country. This time, it seemed that she was returning to the Sunset Country to fight for power. And the task that Long Bayao received was to prevent this woman from returning to the Sunset Country. Originally, Long Bayao disdained to help foreigners, but the other party promised to give him 5 billion if the matter was completed, and 1 billion had already been transferred. The other party gave too much. Moreover, the other party promised them that as long as they completed this matter, they could enjoy a holy light bath. Holy light bathing is to temper the body with holy light, which can make their cultivation power stronger, and even break through the realm of cultivation is not impossible. Therefore, Long Bayao agreed without much hesitation. Long Bayao did not want to hurt anyone, he just needed to complete the task assigned by the other party. At this moment, the woman was in the first-class cabin, and was already trapped. The entire plane was controlled by their people, even the cockpit was no exception. Immediately, Long Bayao took the other people to the first-class cabin. The next moment, Long Bayao saw a mixed-race woman, took out his mobile phone to compare, and it was the same as the photo received on the mobile phone. Then, Long Bayao came directly to the mixed-race woman. Miss Sophie, I'm sorry. You can't go to the Sunset Country. Please come with me. Long Bayao looked at the mixed-race woman coldly and said lightly. At this moment, Sophie's face suddenly changed. There was a hint of coldness in her eyes when she looked at Long Bayao. She said lightly again, without much panic on her face, but very calm. How much money did they give you? As long as you let me go to the Sunset Country, I will give you more after the matter is done. Sophie knew that the other party must have given a lot of benefits. When Long Bayao heard Sophie's words, a smile suddenly appeared on his face again. Oh? More. They promised to give us 10 billion. Do you have it? Can you give it? Long Bayao said in a deep voice, saying 5 billion as 10 billion. Hearing Long Bayao's words, Sophie's face changed again, and her brows frowned deeply. 10 billion. No. How is this possible? Sophie said immediately. The other party gave too much to stop her from going back. That's right, it's 10 billion. So, if you can't take out 10 billion? You'd better follow us. Long Bayao sneered again, saying that if Sophie gave them 10 billion, this matter could be discussed. In short, it's all for money, wouldn't it be better to make more? Okay. 10 billion is 10 billion. As long as I can go to Sunset Country smoothly and take back what originally belonged to me, I will give you 10 billion. But at this time, Sophie said in a deep voice again. When Long Bayao heard what Sophie said, he was stunned again. He didn't expect that Sophie actually agreed. In that case, give me a deposit first. Transfer 2 billion first, and I'll let you go. Long Bayao said directly again. Of course, he couldn't just talk without evidence, he had to come up with something substantial. 2 billion? But I don't have it now. I only have 100,000. I can transfer 100,000 to you first. Sophie's face suddenly became ugly again. She only had more than 100,000 on her body now. Where did she get 2 billion? 100,000? Are you kidding? Long Biao heard Sophie's words and said in a stern voice, a little unhappy. Catch her for me, give her this pill. Long Biao said directly to the people behind him, and there was already a small blue pill in his hand. As long as the other party took this pill, he would not be able to use any strength, his whole body would be weak, and he could only be controlled by them. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Taido. Chapter 435. Yes. As Long Biao finished speaking, two men immediately took the small blue pill in his hand and walked up to Sophie, with a hint of coldness in their eyes. Beauty, do you want to take it by yourself? Or should we feed it to you? One of them said coldly to Sophie again, with a wicked smile on his face. When Sophie saw this scene, her face became a little pale. The other party wanted 10 billion, and she had to give 2 billion first. How could she have so much money? But now, if she swallows the other party's pill, then she will really become a fish on the sticky board and be slaughtered by others. No. Absolutely not. Sophie didn't answer and looked at the other party coldly. In that case, let me feed you. Haha. Seeing Sophie's appearance, the person who just spoke said sharply again, and then directly grabbed Sophie. But at this moment, boom! An astonishing aura was instantly released from the Sophie in front of her. Immediately afterwards, a bright holy light shone around Sophie's body. Saint. The next moment, a majestic force blasted directly towards the two people in front. The expressions of these two people condensed, and an astonishing aura was released from their bodies, and their spiritual power instantly formed a protective shield on their bodies. Bang! A roaring sound instantly resounded in the space, and the huge force collided, causing the entire plane to shake. Ah! Ah! Dot! Suddenly, a series of screams came out from the mouths of the tourists. You must know that they are in the plane at this moment, above 10,000 meters in the sky. Sophie activated the powerful power of holy light and blasted towards the two figures in front of her, but they were all blocked by them. Seeing this scene, Long Biao frowned. He didn't have time to waste it. If something happened later, he had to quickly capture this woman and control her. Don't resist fearlessly. You are just a saint and have no ability to resist. Long Biao looked at Sophie coldly and said in a deep voice. As his words fell. Boom! In an instant, another powerful aura burst out from Long Biao's body. This aura was much stronger than the two people just now, and it was not on the same level at all. That is the realm of pill formation. As Long Biao's cultivation was released, Sophie's expression suddenly changed. She felt a strong sense of oppression. The power released by the other party was beyond her ability to resist. However, Sophie naturally couldn't restrain herself. The holy light was flowing around her body and she was blasting towards the opponent with full power. Bang! But all I saw was that Long Biao's expression remained unchanged, strong and rich spiritual power was condensed on his body, and then he punched directly to crush Sophie's offensive. A fierce force hit Sophie directly. Immediately, a stream of blood spurted out from Sophie's mouth, and her body was pushed back to the front of the seat. Her face became pale and weak, her aura was much weaker, and she looked a little embarrassed. Haha! Don't resist weakly. You can't resist. If you don't want to suffer physical pain, just take this pill. Long Biao looked at Sophie again, said with a sneer, and then walked directly in front of Sophie. Soon, he came in front of Sophie and looked at Sophie condescendingly. At this moment, Sophie's eyes showed a hint of horror, a hint of unwillingness, but more importantly, a hint of powerlessness. Although she is a saint, the opponent is much stronger than her. Moreover, there were so many people on the other side, and she couldn't resist. The next moment, Long Biao took the pill and stuffed it directly into Sophie's mouth. Sophie still tried to resist, but was suppressed by a powerful force and couldn't even move her body. Ah! Sophie screamed in horror. No need to scream, it's useless to break your throat. Long Biao said to Sophie calmly again, with coldness in his eyes, and a touch of coldness in his face and voice. Sophie felt very desperate at the moment, and was about to forcefully force a pill into her mouth. But at this time, "You disturbed me until I slept." A voice suddenly sounded next to him. At this moment, Long Biao and the monks behind him looked aside in surprise. Not far away, a man and a woman were looking at them indifferently. The woman was very beautiful, and the man was very beautiful. They were handsome and looked like a couple. At this moment, the voice came from this boy's mouth. Long Biao and the others had noticed the two of them before, but in their eyes, they were just two ordinary lovers who couldn't make any waves, so they didn't pay attention to them. At this moment, after hearing this, Long Biao's brows instantly wrinkled. Next to him, other people couldn't help it anymore and said sternly to Li Hao, "Are you so stupid?" But as the man finished speaking, bang! A dull voice suddenly resounded, and the body of the person who had just spoken was directly blown away at this moment. Blood was spitting out, as if being hit by an invisible force. This scene happened so quickly that Long Biao and others had not even reacted. You are looking for death." The next moment, Long Biao saw the scene and saw his younger brother being beaten away and injured. Long Biao immediately became angry and shouted sharply. At the same time, a powerful aura swept over Long Biao, and then Long Biao punched Li Hao directly. But before Long Biao's fist landed on the opponent, an invisible force seemed to appear instantly, filling the space and blocking Long Biao's fist, preventing him from making any further progress. A terrifying aura spread out from the young man in front of him at this moment. This momentum is earth-shattering. The entire space seemed to be frozen because of this terrifying momentum. Long Biao's heart was extremely shocked at this moment, and he felt an extremely terrifying pressure coming on him at this moment. Powerful. Extremely powerful momentum. The opponent simply crushed him due to his momentum. Long Biao's heart was horrified to the extreme, and then, a stream of cold sweat flowed from Long Biao's head. The other party was clearly a monk who was much more powerful than him. This aura was the most powerful one she had ever encountered. You are actually a grandmaster." Long Biao pointed at Li Hao with a horrified expression and said in disbelief. "Grandmaster? The other party is definitely a master. Only a grandmaster can make him feel irresistible." The next moment, Long Biao felt that his body could not move. "Roll!" Li Hao gave another cold shout. As this sound came out, there seemed to be a thunderous sound throughout the space. Bang! Immediately afterwards, everyone was shocked to see that Long Biao, who was in the pill formation realm, was blasted straight away at this moment. How is this possible? The other party's mere voice caused Long Biao to be blown away. At this moment, the other people around him were motionless, and their hearts were shocked to the extreme. It wasn't that they didn't move, but that they couldn't move. "I didn't expect that this young man would be such a terrifying monk. You've disturbed my sleep. What should I do? Should I shut you up forever?" Li Hao glanced at these people indifferently, not caring about the other person's life or death at all. When the voice fell into the ears of these people, it made them feel extremely frightened. I'm sorry. We were wrong. Don't kill us." Immediately, these people knelt down directly in front of Li Hao and begged for mercy, putting aside their dignity and everything else. "You're wrong, then you have to pay the price. Li Hao said calmly. Boom. Then he blasted out another palm. This palm directly turned into several palm prints, and then hit these people directly. Ah! Ah! Immediately, the sounds of screams suddenly resounded in the space. These people immediately fell to the ground in pain, moaning continuously. All their cultivation was wasted at this moment. Li Hao didn't kill them. Losing their cultivation would be considered punishment. These people actually dared to do something on the plane. They didn't take these ordinary people seriously at all and used this as a punishment. Next to him, Sophie was stunned when she saw this scene, and her heart was filled with incredible shock. This guy he had a quarrel with before turned out to be a strong man and crushed these people in an instant? How is this possible? Thinking of what she had said to the other party before, Sophie's expression couldn't help but change again. If the other party had some other thoughts about her, wouldn't she have no choice but to let him do what he did? Don't worry, I'm not very interested in you. I'm not saving you, I just don't want the plane to fly somewhere else. Perhaps seeing the changing expression on the woman's face, Li Hao said calmly to the mixed-race woman. Although this girl is good-looking, she is not very smart at all. When Sophie heard Li Hao's words, her face turned red and she looked sulky, but she didn't dare to say anything. She was afraid of making the guy in front of her unhappy. The reason why Li Hao stood up was firstly for the safety of other people on the plane, and also because Li Hao didn't want the plane to just change its direction and fly somewhere else. Li Hao was going to the land of the sunset. Buzz buzz. But at this moment, the plane began to tremble uncontrollably, and became increasingly distant. And the next moment, everyone felt a terrifying feeling of weightlessness at this moment. Ah! What's going on? Help! I don't want to die. Hold the seat belt. Ah, is the plane going to crash? Oh my God! You're not going to die, are you? Dot. A series of screams suddenly came from the mouths of these tourists. At this moment, the plane dived straight down, as if it was about to crash. The entire cabin suddenly fell into chaos, and some people who were not wearing seat belts were thrown out. There's something wrong in the cockpit. Li Hao said directly. The next moment, Li Hao went to the cockpit without hesitation and saw the captain and co-pilot who had fallen into a coma. These two people must have been knocked unconscious by Long Baiao's previous subordinates, and then they started driving automatically. However, for some unknown reason at this moment, there seemed to be something wrong with the automatic driving. Li Hao saw the problem at a glance. Is the plane going to crash? What should we do now? At this time, Sophie also came behind Li Hao and asked Li Hao. As long as I'm here, you can't fall. Li Hao said in a deep voice again, but there was a strong confidence in his voice. If the plane crashed and fell from such a high place, nothing would happen to him and Ye Hongxiu, but the hundreds of tourists would be in misery. If they fell, they would not even be scum. Left over. Naturally, Li Hao couldn't just watch so many people die as the plane crashed. Li Hao wanted to prevent this tragedy from happening. The next moment, Li Hao pulled away the captain and sat in the driver's seat. Then he grabbed the joystick directly. Sitting in the seat and grabbing the control lever, Li Hao's mind was instantly shocked. His god-level piloting skills came into play involuntarily and came in handy immediately. His skills in piloting airplanes emerged spontaneously. Li Hao turned into an ace captain at this moment. Pulling up hard, trying to save the plane from diving. Buzz buzz. The plane was still diving, and the speed was getting faster and faster, rushing towards the ground. Finally, under Li Hao's control, the plane's downward dive angle became smaller, but this was not enough, and the plane had already passed through the clouds, with endless mountains below. Seeing that the plane was heading towards a mountain range below was blasted away. As long as it hits, it will destroy the machine and kill everyone. This is not enough. Get up for me. Li Hao shouted again, and then used great strength to hold the control stick and pull it up. At the same time, a powerful force of cultivation was activated instantly and released from Li Hao's body. In the space, there was a force of wind and cloud that lifted the plane. Just when the plane was about to hit the mountain, Li Hao finally controlled the plane's dive. The plane was pulled up by Li Hao, and it flew into the sky again just less than 30 meters away from the top of the mountain. There was no crash. We're not dead. It's so good. We almost bumped into each other. Oh my God. Dot. A series of exclamations resounded from the mouths of these tourists, and everyone became excited, filled with the joy of surviving the disaster. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Taido. Chapter 436. Everyone became excited, their faces filled with excitement. Survived a disaster. Really survived a disaster. The plane did not crash, and was pulled up again when it was about to hit the mountain. Sophie next to him was stunned. You can fly a plane. Sophie said to Li Hao in shock. Li Hao's face showed a faint smile, and he glanced at Sophie. Not only can I fly a plane, I can also shoot a plane, Li Hao wanted to say. This woman, I saved her, and I didn't even say a word of thanks. Of course Li Hao didn't need it, but he didn't have any good feelings for this woman. This woman was a mixed blood with a good figure, but there was nothing else about her. Next, Li Hao made another simple operation, which was to make the plane stable again and rise to the previous height. Li Hao, who has God-level driving skills, is not a piece of cake to fly this plane. But there are still several hours to go, and Li Hao doesn't want to drive it himself. So, Li Hao set his sights on the captain and the co-pilot. The two were just knocked unconscious. Li Hao pointed at them and a spiritual force immediately entered their bodies. The next moment, the two woke up faintly. Ah! What's going on? What happened? When they woke up, they were both confused and had no idea what happened, but soon they understood the truth. What? We were hijacked. A look of surprise instantly appeared on their faces. Don't worry, the crisis has been resolved. At this time, Sophie said to the two. However, just after Li Hao woke up the captain and the co-pilot. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you have saved hundreds of lives and received a reward, a suicide note. In Li Hao's mind, a system prompt sound suddenly sounded, which made Li Hao suddenly shocked again. System reward? Wasn't there a prompt just now? How could there be a system reward? Li Hao was stunned, and a trace of doubt emerged in his mind. Is there a reward without a prompt? But this reward is actually a suicide note? What kind of reward is this? As the prompt sound of the system fell. In Li Hao's hand, a black document like a document in an envelope suddenly appeared, and there was a very delicate pattern painted with gold thread on the cover. Is this a suicide note? Li Hao was about to try to open it to see what was written in the suicide note, but there was no opening on Li Hao's envelope, and Li Hao couldn't tear it apart when he tried hard. Note, this is a mysterious suicide note, which can only be opened in a specific place. At this time, the prompt sound of the system sounded again. This suicide note actually needs a special place to be opened. It's really strange. Okay. Since it can't be opened and the contents can't be seen, Li Hao directly threw the suicide note into the system world. In the following time, everything was very calm. Long Biao and his men had been crippled by Li Hao and could not cause any big waves. However, Sophie looked at Li Hao from time to time during the flight. There was a glimmer in her beautiful eyes. I don't know what she was thinking. Finally, a few hours later. The flight finally arrived at Sunset Country. Sunset Country is famous for its sunset, mainly because it is located on the westernmost side of the continent, and is the land of sunset. Sunset City, as the capital of Sunset Country, is also the most prosperous place in Sunset Country. Sunset City, I'm finally back. As soon as he got off the plane, Li Hao heard a woman next to him sighing. Sophie looked at Sunset City, but she had a different emotion in her heart. This is where she grew up, until she was 8 years old, but later, her family had some problems. Her father was framed and something happened. If her father hadn't sent her to Dawa, she would not have grown up so much. And now, Sophie came here to seek justice for her father. Sophie immediately took out her mobile phone and made a call. Hello, I'm at Sunset City Airport. Soon, Sophie hung up the phone again. After a while, a car appeared at the airport gate. The driver was a middle-aged man, a native of Sunset. Sophie, get in the car. I can't leave for too long. The middle-aged man who was driving said directly to Sophie. Okay. Sophie was ready to get in the car, but at this time, Sophie looked at Li Hao and Ye Hongxiu again. You two, do you want to visit my home? Sophie said to Li Hao and the others, and actually invited Li Hao to visit her home. When Li Hao heard what Sophie said, a strange color suddenly appeared in his eyes. Haha, we still have something to do, forget it. Li Hao said lightly and refused directly. Is the other party so kind to invite him? This woman must be in trouble, Li Hao could tell at a glance. They were able to arrange for someone to attack Sophie on the plane and didn't want Sophie to come to Sunset City. The other party must be very powerful, maybe someone from Sophie's family. The only reason he wanted to take himself and Ye Hongxiu as guests was to see that he was a powerful master. There was no telling what kind of trouble he would encounter. Although Li Hao is not afraid of trouble, this woman has nothing to do with him and she is not his. Naturally, Li Hao will try to avoid it if he can. The fact is indeed what Li Hao thought. Sophie saw Li Hao's strength and thought that if Li Hao followed her to her family, if she encountered any crisis, the other party would probably help her. In this way, Sophie would be a little stronger. Sure. Although there are some people in the family who once supported Sophie's father and want to support Sophie to rise to power, the number is limited after all, and they do not have an advantage. Sophie felt slightly disappointed, and then got into the car again. Buzzing. The car started, made a buzzing sound, and then drove Sophie away from here. Where shall we go next? Beside Li Hao, Ye Hongxiu asked Li Hao. You'll find out later. Li Hao said calmly, but he gave it a try. As he spoke, a Lincoln drove slowly up the road and came to Li Hao's side. Then a middle-aged foreign man got out of the passenger seat. This middle-aged foreign man is exactly that Nok. As Li Hao's servant, Li Hao had returned him to the Sunset Kingdom many days ago, and he had already arranged his itinerary. Owner. Nok came directly in front of Li Hao and said respectfully to Li Hao. Li Hao nodded, and then said to Ye Hongxiu again. Get in the car. As a result, the two of them got into the car directly, and before Li Hao could say anything, the car started driving immediately. That mountain is the Holy Mountain, right? Li Hao pointed directly at a mountain range in the view outside the window. The mountain towered into the sky and was located to the west of Sunset City. I don't know how high it is, but even from a long distance, I can already see that the mountain is shining with golden light, which is holy light. Well, that is the Holy Mountain of Light. Nok nodded in response. Master, should we go there directly? It's not easy to go up to the Holy Mountain. Nok said to Li Hao again. Huh? It's not easy to go up? What should I say? Li Hao couldn't help but condense when he heard Nok's words, and asked as if he was asking. This holy mountain is not something that just ordinary people can go up. This holy mountain is controlled by the four nobles. Only people from the four nobles can go up, and they must be the best among them. Those who do need to have a quota. This Nok said directly to Li Hao again. Four nobles? Li Hao asked in surprise again. The four major nobles are the William family, the Duke family, the Joss family, and the Windsor family. Immediately, Nok explained directly to Li Hao. These four major families are the four largest nobles in our Sunset Kingdom. Their wealth accounts for 70% of the Sunset Kingdom's wealth. And Guangming Holy Mountain is the territory of Guangming Holy Sect. This Nok told Li Hao a lot. Li Hao understood quite well. To put it simply, this Holy Mountain of Light is the territory of the Holy Sect of Light. The Holy Sect of Light can be said to be the largest transcendent force in the Sunset Kingdom. Those who are members of the four great nobles can be regarded as vassals of the Holy Religion of Light. They can have some quotas every year, and then be sent to the Holy Mountain of Light to become members of the Holy Religion of Light. Ordinary people are not allowed to climb even this holy mountain. In other words, Li Hao and Ye Hongxiu also need to have quotas from the four major families. In that case, let's go to another place first. When Li Hao heard this, he said in a deep voice again. Where? Nok asked in surprise. Do you know Castle William? Li Hao said lightly. William's castle? Of course you know. This is an old castle. It's at least one of the top 3 castles in Sunset Country. Are you going here? Nok asked Li Hao puzzledly, and William Castle has been built for many years. It is an ancient castle with a long history. That's right. Li Hao nodded directly. Nok didn't know what Li Hoke was doing at William's castle, but he didn't ask any more questions. The next moment, Nok didn't ask any more questions, and drove towards the direction of Castle William. William's castle has a history of many years and is located dozens of kilometers west of Sunset City. After another half an hour, the Lincoln stopped, and Li Hao and Ye Hongxiu got out of it. From a distance, you can see a huge castle sitting on the edge of the lake, surrounded by lush green. But at this moment, a lot of people gathered at the gate of the castle. In the parking lot at the gate of the castle, there were even many vehicles parked. They were basically luxury cars, such as Mercedes-Benz, Audi, Lamborghini, and Ferrari. Maserati, etc., are actually quite common here. A red carpet was rolled out directly from the castle to the entrance of the castle. Many figures got off those cars, dressed in rich and luxurious clothes, holding something like an invitation in their hands, and then showed it to the guard, and then walked directly from the red carpet to the castle. Obviously, this castle seems to be hosting some grand event. Moreover, at the gate of the castle, there were several proud figures, both men and women. The leader was a couple in luxurious dresses, wearing a black tuxedo, and the woman in a white skirt with a hat on her head. Next to them, there was a handsome man from Sunset Country in a suit, about 20 years old, full of pride. Sakru. Today's ceremony is very important, and someone will come from the holy mountain later. You must perform well. At this time, the middle-aged man said to the young man next to him, and his name was William Harden, the agent of the William family of this generation, and the young man next to him was his son, named William Sakru. And today is the day when his son takes over the William family. As one of the 4 nobles of Sunset Country, this is a great event, so many people were invited to come and witness it. Originally, it was not his son's turn to take over the William family. Since his father William must passed away, he left behind the William family and wealth that rivaled a country. But his father had never decided on the heir until his death. It is natural for a son to inherit his father's business, but William Harden has a younger brother, who is Sophie's father. So some things happened later. The two became enemies for the wealth left by their father. Until one day, Sophie's father suddenly disappeared. But at this moment, A carriage appeared on the square in front of the castle. The carriage was also decorated extremely gorgeously. It was unknown what material it was made of. There was holy light flowing on the carriage. It's the carriage of the Holy Church of Light. The people of the Holy Church of Light are here. Who are they? I didn't expect that even the people of the Holy Church of Light are here. When the carriage appeared, it immediately caused a series of exclamations, and many people's eyes were filled with shock. Because they saw that the carriage belonged to the Holy Church of Light. In other words, the people on the carriage were from the Holy Church of Light. No matter who they were extremely noble to the people present. The Holy Church of Light was the strongest force in Sunset Country and the ruler of Sunset Country. The next moment, another young man came from the carriage. He looked to be in his 20s. As soon as he appeared, he became the focus of the whole audience. It's the Holy Son of the Holy Church of Light. I didn't expect that the Holy Church of Light actually sent the Holy Son here. They really value it. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tien Taido. Chapter 437. Chapter 436. Why are you here at the air authorization ceremony? Please collect and subscribe. When the Holy Son of the Light Holy Religion appeared at the gate of the castle, everyone in the room was shocked. The Light Holy Religion sent the Holy Son to participate in this celebration, which shows how much the Light Holy Religion attaches great importance to the William family. This Holy Son of the Holy Light Religion, whose name is Moro, has an extraordinary temperament, and there is faint holy light flowing in his body. He is also a saint, comparable to a monk in the alchemy realm, but his profession is different and his name is different. Soon, many people came to this Moro. Welcome to the Holy Son. Welcome to the Holy Son. One after another, the figures spoke respectfully to this Moro. Among them were some figures with extraordinary temperament, who were members of the four great nobles. As subordinates of the Holy Religion of Light, they were naturally interested in the Holy Son of the Holy Religion of Light. Extremely respectful. Soon, Moro of the Light Holy Cult was welcomed in by William Harden and others. Continuously, more and more people arrived at William Castle, and these people were either rich or noble, and they were basically nobles and people from prominent families in the Sunset Kingdom. At this time, a woman got out of the car with a middle-aged man and came directly to the door of the castle. And this woman turned out to be Sophie, who was on the plane before. After he was picked up by this middle-aged man, he came directly here. Looking at the huge castle in front of her, and at the William Harden and his son who were greeting guests at the door, Sophie's eyes flashed with a strange color. The two people in front of him, one is his nominal uncle, and the other is his nominal cousin. However, Sophie has not been back for many years, and Sophie knows that her father is missing, so she is afraid that she will not be able to escape her relationship with these two people. To take charge of this powerful William family. In order to take over the huge wealth of the William family, the two of them probably did a lot of things secretly. I wonder what the two people's faces looked like when they saw me. Do you still know yourself? The next moment, the middle-aged man next to Sophie led Sophie over there, and soon came to the gate, but was stopped by the guard at the door. When the guard saw the middle-aged man in front of him, his expression was suddenly shocked, and there was also a look of respect on his face. Lord Sam! Lord Sam! The guard shouted respectfully to the middle-aged man in front of him. The middle-aged man in front of him is a senior figure in the William family and one of the 5 senior members of the William family. Sam nodded. Then he walked inside with Sophie beside him. Lord Sam, who is this? The guard asked Sam again. Miss Sophie, the little princess of our William family, the daughter of the second head of the family. Sam glanced at the guard lightly, and then said in a deep voice. As Sam's words fell, the two guards were suddenly shocked when they heard Sam's words. The second head of the family. The two of them naturally knew who the second head of the family was. However, the second head of the family has been missing for many years. The woman in front of her turned out to be the daughter of the second family head. If that was the case, it would not be an exaggeration to call this woman the little princess of their William family. However, what shocked the two of them was that at this juncture, when their master's son William Sukla was about to take over the entire William family, the daughter of their second master actually appeared. Oh my God, something big is going to happen. At this moment, the hearts of the two guards were trembling, and they had the same idea at the same time. The two of them didn't dare to stop them and just let Sophie and Sam go inside. As for this scene, William Harden and his son did not notice it at all. They were also busy receiving the noble Holy Son of Light, Moro. But at this time, at the entrance of William's castle, Li Hao, Ye Hongxiu, and Locke also came here. Master, if we don't have an invitation letter to this William castle, I'm afraid we won't be able to enter. Today is the time for the Joe William family to choose their heirs. Even in my family, only 2 people can enter. At this time, Locke looked at the huge castle in front of him and said to Li Hao beside him. His family is also a big family in the Sunset Kingdom. Although it is not as good as the 4 nobles, it is still a powerful force. But even so, they only received 2 invitations, and they were sent directly. Gave it to their family. When Li Hao heard Locke's words, he felt a strange emotion in his heart, and the next moment, a faint curve appeared at the corner of Li Hao's mouth. This is your own castle. The system rewards your own castle. Do you need an invitation letter to enter your own castle? Li Hao disagreed, said nothing, and immediately walked straight ahead. Ye Hongxiu, who was next to him, saw this scene and followed closely. Locke was also stunned, and immediately followed him, but a doubt arose in his heart. Can he go in without an invitation? Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the gate. Hello sir, madam, please show me your invitation letter. Immediately, the guard stopped the 3 of them and said to them. Sure enough, an invitation letter is still needed. If nothing else, this castle belongs to me. Do you need an invitation too? Li Hao said directly to the guard. What? Hearing Li Hao's words, the 2 guards were stunned for a moment, with a look of surprise on their faces. You said this castle belongs to you. How is this possible? Are you from the William family? Excuse me, sir, please show me your invitation letter. The 2 guards immediately smiled and then said to Li Hao. At the same time, Ye Hongxiu and Locke beside Li Hao also looked at Li Hao in confusion. Li Hao actually said that this castle belongs to him. How is this possible? At this moment, the 2 of them also had a feeling of disbelief, thinking that Li Hao might be joking. Especially Narok, he knew that this castle belonged to the William family, but it belonged to the previous generation of the William family. However, when the previous generation of William family owner passed away, the ownership of the castle was not given to him. This generation of William family members. Hearing the words of these 2 guards, Li Hao's brows suddenly wrinkled again, and then he said in a deep voice. I don't have an invitation. Sorry, we can't let you in without an invitation. When the guard heard Li Hao's words, he directly spoke to Li Hao and refused to let Li Hao in. Li Hao's eyes suddenly condensed. As the owner of this castle, he was actually stopped by the castle's guards and refused to let him in. Isn't this humming funny? However, when the system rewarded me with this castle, it did not give me anyone's contact information. It only gave me a ring. Is there anything special about that ring? Li Hao directly took out the ring from the system world and put it on his hand. This is a pitch black ring. I don't know what material it is made of. The ring is engraved with a pattern of a flying dragon, and the dragon's eyes are inlaid with 2 small gems. It looks very special and precious. Li Hao's movements were not concealed in the slightest, but the people around him looked confused. For some reason, Li Hao actually took out a ring and put it on his hand at this moment. Li Hajiang waved the ring on his hand to the two guards in front of him. However, the two guards did not see the reason, which made Li Hao a little speechless. Don't know? This is humming weird. Who should I contact? How to take over this castle? I'm not kidding, this castle really belongs to me. Go get whoever you are in charge of now. Li Hao said directly to the two guards. Since the two guards couldn't make the decision, the people in charge must know. Today is a grand event for our William family to decide the heir. Our managers are very busy and have no time to pay attention to you. Since you don't have our invitation letter, please leave. The faces of the two guards also darkened, and they said directly to Li Hao that as the guards of the William family, they were also very powerful. No one in the entire Sunset Country dared to cause trouble at the gate of William Castle. Boom! As the words of the two guards fell, a powerful aura suddenly rose from their bodies, and a holy light shone above their bodies. Obviously, both men are saints, too. The two guards burst out their body aura and looked very strong. Li Hao looked at the scene in front of him, but his expression did not change at all. Saints were just equivalent to monks in the Foundation establishment realm, and were not taken seriously by Li Hao at all. At the same time, before Li Hao could react, the face of Nok next to him suddenly turned cold. Too bad. These were the thoughts that came to Nok's mind at this moment. It was not that they were going to be miserable, but that the two guards in front of him were going to be miserable. Nok has seen the power of Li Hao. He is the master of Dewa. If you put it here, it is comparable to the existence of the Holy King. If you put it on the entire continent, it is the most top existence. In the entire bright holy religion, there is only one powerful Holy King. To deal with the two guards in front of him, it was enough for him to take action. Immediately, a powerful aura burst out from Nok's body. It was actually many times more powerful than what was released by the two guards in front of him. He was clearly a saint. At this moment, the expressions of the two guards in front of them suddenly changed. They did not expect that there was a saint in front of them. At the same time, a powerful momentum was released here, which also attracted the attention of those who came here to participate in the celebration, and they all cast a surprised look towards this side. It's a saint. What a powerful aura. That man is a saint. What happened? For a moment, everyone made a sound of surprise and looked over there. At this time, Sam in front saw the situation and came back. He came in front of several people and asked in a deep voice. What's going on? Master Sam, they don't have an invitation, we won't let him in, but they want to force their way in. Suddenly, the guard said directly again. After hearing the words of the two guards, Sam fell in love with Li Hao and the others again, and his eyes became focused. The three people in front of me can be seen to be extraordinary even in terms of temperament. Although the saint who has just released his cultivation is a junior saint, which is quite different from the senior saint like him, he is still older. He is younger, and I don't know where he came from. Huh? Why are you here? But when the atmosphere at the scene was a bit solemn, a woman's surprised voice came from the side. A woman with a graceful appearance and a perfect figure came to Li Hao and the others and looked at Li Hao with wide eyes. Li Hao looked at the woman in front of him with a hint of surprise in his heart. Wasn't this woman the same woman he had just met on the plane? He remembered that when he got in the car, he had invited himself to her home. Is her home here? Is she from the William family? Miss Sophie, do you know each other? When Sam next to him saw this scene, he immediately asked Sophie again. Yeah, we came on a plane, and he saved me on the plane before. Sophie said directly to Sam. Since we are Miss Sophie's friends, we can naturally go in even if we receive an invitation. Let's go, please come with us. After hearing Sophie's words, Sam immediately looked at Li Hao and the others and said directly, inviting the three of them to come in together. In that case, thank you very much. Li Hao smiled casually again and said. As a result, Li Hao and the other three followed Sam and Sophie in. The guards at the door did not dare to stop them in the slightest. Soon, Li Hao and the others followed Sam and the others into the castle. In front of you is a huge banquet hall, covering hundreds of square meters, extremely wide, very high, and very magnificently decorated. There were hundreds of people in the entire banquet hall, all sitting in corresponding seats at the moment. And in the front, on the high platform, there are several chairs. The person sitting on the first one is the holy son of the light sect, Moro. There were only 4 people sitting on the remaining 5 chairs, and these 4 people were all one of the 5 elders of the William family. None of them came. At this time, William Harden led his son William Sucla directly onto the high platform, and then William Harden spoke directly. Today is a very important day for our William family. Everyone is welcome to attend the authorization ceremony for the new heir of our William family. Today, everyone will witness the birth of the new heir to the William family. Today, the Holy Son of the Holy Sect of Light is also here in person, and will work with the 5 elders of our William family to decide the new heir of our William family. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tien Tien Taido. Chapter 438. As William Harden's words fell, a few young people stood directly on the high platform. Among them is William Harden's son, William Sucla. The others are very young and look to be in their 20s, and they are all young talents of the William family. The 5 or 6 young people standing on the high platform at this moment are one of the candidates for the heir of the William family, and only they can be qualified to become the true heirs of the William family. Today, the heir to the William family will be selected from among them by vote. Among the few people, William Sucla kept a proud smile on his face, while the others had a gloomy look on their faces. Because everyone else knew that the heir to their William family had already been decided, and they were just going through the process. Soon, the ceremony of choosing to vote began directly. After some voting, without any exception, William Crew directly became the young man with the largest number of votes. In this case, I declare that the heir of our William family is William Suk. At this moment, William Harden said to everyone again, directly announcing the result. However, his words have not yet finished. Wait. But at this moment, a voice resounded in the space. Everyone turned their attention to the direction of the sound, and suddenly saw a middle-aged man and a young woman standing aside. Sam. Senior Sam, it's a little too late for you to come here, isn't it? Our voting has ended. Do you still have any questions? William Harden looked at this middle-aged man and his expression changed slightly. This Sam was one of the people he least wanted to see. This guy had never supported his son as the heir, and he couldn't help but said in a deep voice. At this moment, other people around him also looked at this middle-aged man, with a look of surprise in their eyes. Isn't the middle-aged man in front of him Elder Sam, one of the 5 elders of the William family? They thought that Sam would not come, fearing that he would miss the William family's heir ceremony, but they didn't expect that he still came at this time. I don't agree with your son becoming the heir. At this moment, Sam said in a deep voice again. These guys who were just voted were all arranged by you, right? When William Harden heard Sam's words, his face couldn't help but darken again, and the faces of the elders next to him and the Holy Son of the Holy Religion of Light also couldn't help but freeze. Yes, so what? If not, so what? In short, they are all talented young people of our William family. Shouldn't the heir be chosen from among them? Then William Harden said directly. It's not a problem to choose from a few of them, but one person is missing. At this time, Sam laughed directly again and said lightly. After hearing Sam's words, a strange look suddenly appeared on the faces of everyone in William Harden. But at this moment, Next to Sam, a young woman slowly walked away. "Uncle Hardin, long time no see, do you still remember Sophie? Why did you forget Sophie about such an important thing?" Sophie stood up slowly, with a smile on her face, and said to William Hardin. At this moment, William could still hear Sophie's words, and his expression suddenly changed. "Sophie." William Hardin naturally recognized the woman in front of him. Isn't this the daughter of his second brother? It was also the person he least wanted to see. "Miss Sophie. It's Miss Sophie. Miss Sophie, the second head of the family. I didn't expect Miss Sophie to be alive. Why haven't I seen her for so many years?" At this moment, the eyes of all the people in the William family were focused on Sophie, and shocking voices came out from their mouths one after another. Among them, there were many old people from the William family, and some people had seen them before. This Sophie, but at that time Sophie was just a little girl less than 10 years old. At this moment, when William Hardin heard Sophie's words, his face couldn't help but froze, and then he glared at his son William Suclo. He knew that Sophie was still alive in Dewa, but he was very far away. He had already arranged for his son, William Scrooge, to make arrangements in Dewa territory a long time ago, and he must prevent the appearance of Sophie and take precautions before it happens. But unexpectedly, what worried him happened. "Oh, I didn't expect it to be little Sophie. Long time no see. Come and take a seat, come and take a seat. But there is no need for you to participate in this air voting. Even if you participate, you only have one vote from Elder Sam. It doesn't matter. Used." William Hardin also put on a smile and said slowly, but there was a great sense of confidence in his voice. "Of the 5 elders of the William family, 3 of them have been brought to his side, and 1 remains neutral. As for the last Sam, his opinions and decisions will not affect the overall situation." William Hardin's words were very straightforward, without even the slightest concealment, and he did not take Sam and Sophie in front of him at all. His words fell into Sophie's ears, and her face darkened again. "That's not necessarily the case." At this moment, Sam next to him said lightly again. "If Miss Sophie participates, then my vote goes to Miss Sophie." At this moment, another voice came from the high platform, and the speaker was also one of the 5 elders of the William family. "Old Hulk, what do you mean?" William Hardin looked at the person who spoke, and his expression suddenly hardened again. The person who spoke was named Hulk, but he was an elder who was already on his side. Why did it suddenly change at this time? "It doesn't mean anything, it's just to support Miss Sophie," I heard the Hulk veteran say directly again. After hearing Hulk's words, William Hardin's expression suddenly became a little ugly. But soon, another sneer appeared on William Hardin's face. "It's a bit surprising. But what if you two support it? There are only 2 of you among the 5 elders. Besides, Saint Son Moro is here." William Hardin said calmly again, even so, it still gave people a feeling that he was in control. "In fact, there is a reason for the arrival of Holy Son Moro. The purpose is just in case. He has already made a promise to Holy Son Moro. As long as Holy Son Moro supports his son to become the successor, then their William family will become the successor of Moro. The support of Saint Son Lugo became the strength of Saint Son Moro." After the words fell, William Hardin looked at the other 3 elders next to him and asked directly. "Elder Zach, Elder Aowen, Elder Mondo, who do you think the heir to our William family should be?" "Of course it's Sakru." "Of course Sakru," Zach and Aowen said without hesitation. On the other hand, the veteran named Mundo did not speak. "What do you think, Elder Meng?" At this time, William Hardin asked again. "Haha. I don't have any opinion on who the heir is. However, I only know that the old man once said that he left a suicide note, and it was clearly stated in the suicide note." "Who is in the suicide note?" I think that it's better to find the suicide note first. At this moment, Mondo said slowly again. Suicide note. After hearing Mondo's words, William Harden's expression suddenly changed, and then he said in a deep voice. The old man did say something about the suicide note, but where is it? If there really is a suicide note? Why haven't we found it after so many years of searching? I'm afraid that the suicide note was just a casual joke by the old man, or maybe it was deliberately made by some people. Destroyed. I don't want anyone to see the contents. Many people know about the suicide note, including several elders. When the old man was still alive, they talked about leaving a suicide note. However, after the old man passed away, the suicide note was missing, and no one knew exactly what the old man had left in it. What is the content of? This Mundo still remained neutral and wanted to rely on the suicide note left by the old man, but he didn't know the whereabouts of the suicide note, so he didn't say anything. At this time, William Harden couldn't think of the Holy Son of Moro anymore. Lord Holy Son, what's your opinion? William Harden asked again. At this moment, Saint Son of Moro looked straight at Sophie, with a fiery look in his eyes. The woman in front of him was pretty good looking, especially her figure, which was better than those of the women he had played with. He is good, and he is a mixed race, with long hair and a good temperament. With just one glance, Moro fell in love with Sophie. At this time, Moro understood William Harden's words and couldn't help being stunned, and then said with a smile. Of course I support you, but... Moro looked at Sophie again and continued. Miss Sophie, if you can become my woman, I can't support you. Moro had a look of reluctance on his face, and the look in his eyes that looked at Sophie revealed a raw desire. In the front, Sophie's face couldn't help but change when she heard Moro's words, and Sam next to her also had a dark expression. As the holy son of the holy sect of light, this Moro has never had a very good reputation. He is a well-known pervert, and there are no women he can't get. Now he has fallen in love with Sophie. This is not good. When William Harden next to him saw the scene and heard Moro's words, he did not feel dissatisfied at all, but looked at Sophie in surprise. Holy son Moro, you have fallen in love with Sophie? That's great. It's an honor for Sophie to be your woman. Since she is from our William family, and her father is not here, I, the uncle, make the decision. William Harden said to Sophie in a deep voice, Sophie, since the Holy Son has taken a liking to you, why are you still standing there? Why don't you go to the Holy Son? As William Harden finished speaking, Sophie's expression changed instantly. She didn't expect that her nominal uncle was so hateful and wanted to send her away. Sam next to him also had a sudden look on his face. But at this moment, Namalo heard William Harden's words and laughed again. Haha, since everyone has said so, I won't be polite. Miss Sophie, are you coming here by yourself? Or should I have someone bring you over? Moro smiled evilly and looked at Sophie, with a cold look in his eyes. As Moro finished speaking, several figures stood out from the crowd and came directly to Sophie's front. Powerful auras instantly burst out from those people. There were 4 figures, all of them were very strong. They were the people who followed Moro here before. They were Moro's guards and members of the Holy Church of Light. Boom! Holy light shone on these 4 people. Their auras were very powerful, which made everyone in the audience change their expression suddenly. Saints. These 4 people are actually saints. 1 intermediate saint, 3 primary saints. As expected of the son of Moro, these 4 guards are all saint-level strongmen. I'm afraid Sophie is going to be miserable. As the auras of these 4 people burst out, a series of uproarious voices instantly resounded in this space. The 4 guards of Moro in front of him are all saint-level strongmen, 1 intermediate, and 3 primary. This lineup is not to be underestimated. Although there are saint-level strongmen in the field, they are definitely not many. As soon as these four people stood up, they burst out their cultivation momentum and looked at Sophie coldly, as if they were going to take Sophie down, which shocked the whole audience. Sophie's face suddenly turned pale, and she looked alert. There was also a cultivation momentum released from her body, but compared with the people in front of her, it was a bit behind. Son of Moro, this is not good. At this time, Sam, who was standing next to Sophie, frowned and said in a deep voice, and a powerful cultivation was also released directly. As one of the 5 elders of the William family, he is also a saint. For a while, the atmosphere on the scene became a little tense. It's time to fight? Everyone looked at the scene and was shocked. But at this time, is it your turn to teach me what to do? When the Moro saint heard Sam's words, he said coldly again, "Get out of the way. If you don't know what's good for you, I don't mind making the William family lose an elder." As his voice fell, the 4 saints on the opposite side also fixed their eyes on Sam, and their powerful aura pressed towards him. Sam's heart sank again. He didn't expect things to turn out like this, but he brought Sophie here, so he naturally had to protect her. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tien Taido. Chapter 439. Sam is also a saint, and the aura released from his body is also very powerful, but in front of the 4 saints in front of him, he is still a bit inferior. Get away. Namora said coldly to Sam again. Get her for me. Immediately, a sneer appeared on Moro's face again. He looked at Sophie and pointed at Sophie. Boom. Suddenly, the 4 saints became fierce and ready to take action. However, when Sam saw this scene, his face hardened, but his body remained motionless, blocking Sophie behind him. At this moment, everyone present felt shaken in their hearts. The situation is tense. This is really tense. Bang. In the next moment, holy light rose up from the bodies of the 4 people, and violent power suddenly burst out from the bodies of the 4 people. At this moment, the 4 people moved, and they all exploded in the direction of Sam. Go with an astonishing offensive. There was also holy light flowing around Sam's body, making his body become somewhat majestic, and he also resisted the attack. Rumble. Then there was another extremely violent vibration. Bang. A dull sound also erupted from the entire space. The offensives of the 4 saints directly hit Sam's body. When Sam was hit, a stream of blood came out, and his figure was also directly knocked back. Although Sam was also a saint, he could not stop the 4 people's joint attack. At this moment, he was injured, and even his aura became a little weak. Sam's face changed color and became extremely ugly. When Sophie saw this scene, a hint of paleness appeared on her pretty face. Looking at the 4 saints walking towards her, Sophie's heart instantly fell to the bottom. It was just when Sophie was about to be captured by these 4 saints. So many people bully a girl, how can she be considered a hero? But at this moment, a cold voice suddenly resounded in the space. This sound, like a thunder, made everyone's expressions freeze again. Who is it? How dare you take advantage of it at this time to fight against injustice? The next moment, everyone's eyes followed the sound and fell on a young man. He was handsome and had an outstanding temperament. Who is this guy? Looks like he's Chinese. Are you looking for death? You actually stand up at this time. Where do you have the courage to stand up? Don't you know that this is the holy son of Moro before you? In an instant, a series of uproar came from the mouths of the people around him. Everyone looked at Li Hao in confusion, feeling that standing up at this moment was really the same as seeking death. But then, everyone's eyes were attracted by another figure next to this young man. Next to this young man, stood a woman wearing a white skirt. Her beautiful face seemed to be as otherworldly as the goddess of the nine heavens, and she was filled with the temperament of an oriental classical beauty. My God, what a beautiful woman! How could there be such a beautiful woman? Oh my God! Is this a goddess? Stunning. In the eyes of everyone, the woman in front of them was really stunning. They had never seen such a breathtakingly stunning woman. At this moment, Moro on the high platform frowned slightly when he heard Li Hao's words, but in the next second, Moro's eyes suddenly lit up again. Hiss. Moro couldn't help but take a breath and looked at Ye Hongxiu without blinking. There is such a beautiful woman. Moro couldn't help but say that the woman in front of him was even more beautiful than the Sophie next to her, especially her pure aura. For a moment, Moro also had some thoughts about the woman in front of him. Isn't this the woman who came to my door? Boy, who the hell do you think you are? How dare you interfere in the affairs of this holy son? Don't you want to live anymore? Moro looked at Li Hao coldly again and said with a mocking look on his face, not taking Li Hao seriously at all. Ha ha, isn't it? A fool comes out of nowhere and dares to interfere in your affairs, the holy son. He is really looking for death. At this time, William Harden also said sarcastically, looking at Li Hao coldly with an unkind look in his eyes. Holy son? Ha ha. After hearing what the other party said, a faint smile appeared on Li Hao's face, but his eyes were sharp. It's really hard to find a place without any trouble. It doesn't take much effort. Just in time, I have something to ask you. Come here quickly. Li Hao said calmly again, with a commanding tone. When these words fell into Namaluo's ears, Namaluo's expression hardened again. What? Tell me to get out of here? How arrogant! No one has ever dared to speak to this holy son like this. I will make your life worse than death later. This is your woman, right? I will make you just watch. Look at your woman under my crotch. There was a chill in Moro's eyes, and he said viciously. Finally, when he looked at Ye Hongxiu, there was even more evil in his eyes. What are you still standing there for? Get him for me. Moro said sternly to the 4 saint guards again. Boom. As Moro's voice fell, the 4 great saint guards erupted with astonishing momentum, and they were about to take action against Li Hao. When Li Hao saw this scene, his expression remained unchanged, and there was a fierce flash in his eyes, ready to take action directly. However, it is at this moment. Li Hao felt an extreme chill around him. Bang bang bang. Immediately afterwards, several dull sounds resounded in the space, and the 4 saints in front who were attacking Li Hao were all blown away. Ah! Ah! Screams came from the mouths of the 4 people, and blood spurted out from their mouths. They were directly blasted several feet away, and fell heavily to the side of the high platform, hitting the ground hard and embarrassed. Incomparable. This scene happened so fast that many people didn't see clearly what happened, and the 4 people were blown away. How is this possible? At this moment, the elders of the William family and the holy son of Moro who were on the high platform also stood up one after another, looking closely ahead at the beautiful woman. At this moment, they felt a powerful threat from this woman. Everyone looked at the scene in disbelief and were shocked. Is this woman in front of me a strong person? Li Hao also didn't expect that Ye Hongxiu would take action directly. But Li Hao understood instantly that what Moro just said had offended Ye Hongxiu. Li Hao couldn't help but have a faint arc appear on his face. He couldn't even beat Ye Hongxiu, but what did this guy want to do to Ye Hongxiu? No, before he could take action, Ye Hongxiu had already taken action directly. Ye Hongxiu just stood there quietly, but it put a huge pressure on everyone in the room. Yehungziu didn't say anything and looked at Namaluo coldly. The next moment, Yehungziu grabbed Namaluo directly in the void. For a moment, the space where Moro's body was located seemed to be directly frozen. Moro was horrified and wanted to use his cultivation power to resist, but Moro was horrified to find that his power seemed to be sealed. Can't even mobilize. Moro was horrified to the extreme. Immediately afterwards, Moro's body headed straight towards Yehungziu. Bang! Then he came directly in front of Yehungziu and knelt down. His knees made a crisp sound when he knelt on the ground. There was even greater fear in Moro's eyes. At this moment, his body seemed completely out of his control. Ah! What are you going to do? I am the holy son of the holy religion of light, let me go. Moro screamed, kneeling on the ground at this moment, feeling that his whole body was extremely angry. What a shame. This is such a humiliation. He is the holy son of the holy sect of light. He has only been kneeled down by others. He has never been kneeled down by others. Now that he is kneeling on the ground in front of so many people, Moro is even more angry. To the extreme. Let me go. I am the holy son of the holy religion of light. You have treated me like this, and I, the holy religion of light, will not let you go. I will kill you. Ah! Moro roared in shock again and moved the holy sect of light out. There was a trace of resentment in his eyes as he looked at Yehungziu. Kill us? Do you dare? Even if your first-generation Saint King is here, he would not dare to say such a thing to this girl. After hearing what Moro said, Yehungziu said calmly, with a touch of disdain in his voice. The words he spoke fell into the ears of everyone around him, but they felt so proud. The first generation of holy kings didn't dare to say such a thing. Everyone's hearts were filled with concentration. Pa! Immediately afterwards, Yehungziu slapped out another palm. Ft. Immediately, Namaluo spurted out another large mouthful of blood, and his aura quickly became weaker. Ah! You actually destroyed me. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Namaluo made a sound of incomparable pain, and even more so with incomparable malice. His cultivation level was actually destroyed by the opponent's palm at this moment. Moro felt even more desperate. If his cultivation is abolished, he, the Holy Son, may not be able to accomplish anything. Moro never expected that his cultivation would be ruined just like this. Just because I just said something that I shouldn't have said, which offended the female evil star in front of me. Holy Son of Moro. Holy Son. At this moment, William Harden and others looked at the scene and made horrified sounds again. What a tragedy. Holy Son Moro was actually deposed by others. How could the higher UPS of the Guangming holy religion just let it go? His William family is probably going to suffer as well. Okay. Li Hao, what do you want to ask him? Ask him. He was not beaten to death. Yehungziu killed the holy son of Moro neatly and without any hesitation, then turned to Li Hao and said calmly. Li Hao. Do you still want to beat people to death? The next moment, Li Hao came step by step to the holy son of Moro on the ground. What are you going to do? Namalo saw this Li Hao coming and was terrified. Answer my two questions honestly and I'll spare your life. Li Hao said calmly to this Moro. Without waiting for the other party to respond, Li Hao asked directly. There is a light altar in your holy church of light, right? When Moro heard Li Hao's words, he was suddenly stunned, but in order to survive, he could only speak slowly. Yes. The light altar is the holy place of our holy church of light. Do you know the holy grail of light? Then, Li Hao asked another question. The holy grail of light. When Moro heard this name, his face was condensed again. He was slightly curious about what Li Hao asked about the holy grail of light, but at this moment, he had to bow his head and did not dare to ask more. He could only answer seriously. This is the treasure of our holy Church of Light, which has been lost for many years. Then do you know what the specific function of this Holy Grail is? Li Hao asked again in a deep voice. Moro shook his head, but said directly again. I don't know what the Holy Grail is for, but whoever possesses the Holy Grail is the Holy Lord of our Holy Church of Light. Moro's words fell into Li Hao's ears, and Li Hao couldn't help but be shocked. The person who possesses the Holy Grail is the Holy Lord of the Holy Church of Light. You know, the Holy Grail is on him, but the Holy Grail has fallen and has lost its former glory. Li Hao needs to go to the altar of light to restore the Holy Grail to its former glory. Li Hao did not ask any other questions. He decided to solve the problem in front of him. At this moment, Sophie and Sam, who were not far from Li Hao, looked at Li Hao and the others with different eyes. The two people they brought in casually turned out to be such a powerful person. Li Hao set his sights on William Harden and others in front of him, and was about to say something. But at this time, Flying Dragon Ring, who are you? How do you own the Flying Dragon Ring? A voice suddenly came from the high platform in front, and the person who spoke was the elder named Mondo. Everyone's eyes instantly looked towards Mondo, and immediately saw that Mondo's eyes fell tightly on Li Hao's hand. At this moment, there was an incredible shock in Mondo's voice. Dragon ring. It's really a dragon ring. Boy, where did you get this dragon ring? At this time, beside Mondo, the other elder Zack also looked straight at Li Hao and made a surprised sound. To be precise, their achievements all fell into Li Hao's hands. On Li Hao's finger, there was a ring. The ring was pitch black, but there was a flying dragon engraved on it. This ring was the dragon ring. This ring was owned by the old man William, the owner of the previous generation of William Castle. How could it be in the hands of this young man? And this dragon ring is also the symbol of the owner of William Castle. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Tian Taido. Chapter 440. At this moment, everyone's realization fell on Li Hao, and they could see the black ring on Li Hao's finger. The flying dragon ring is the symbol of the owner of William Castle. Why is the flying dragon ring on the young man in front of me? There was a trace of doubt in everyone's heart. Even William Harden was looking at the ring with wide eyes and disbelief, and his face became very ugly. Ring. Li Hao was startled when he saw everyone's appearance, then raised his hand to look at the ring on his finger, and then said lightly. Anyway, this ring belongs to me. As for how it came from, do you care? Naturally, it was impossible for Li Hao to say that this was sent by the system. But when Li Hao's words reached the ears of the people in front of them, another strange color came into their hearts. Next to her, Sophie also looked at the ring on Li Hao's hand with her beautiful eyes widened. Flying dragon ring? She naturally knew about the flying dragon ring and knew that it was a symbol of the William family, but she had never seen a flying dragon ring before, so she didn't even notice that the ring this guy was wearing was actually a flying dragon ring. At this moment, Mondo stood up first and walked straight towards Li Hao. Mondo actually bowed directly to Li Hao. Mr. Mondo, what are you doing? Before Mondo could speak, William Harden, who was not far away, saw the scene and couldn't help but said sharply again. Since the flying dragon ring is on his hand, then he is the owner of Castle William. Naturally, he deserves my respect. Mondo said directly. How can you do it with just one ring? Maybe he snatched this ring from somewhere else? Or maybe it was stolen from our family. Naturally, William Harden was unwilling to give up Castle William, so he said directly in a deep voice. However, it is at this moment. Swish swish swish. There was the sound of steel colliding, and then the sound of neat footsteps. At this moment, everyone saw another pair of guards walking in. There were dozens of them, with a fierce aura on their bodies, and they came directly to Li in front of Hao. Bang! Then, These guards knelt down directly towards Li Hao and performed a knight's salute. At this time, an old man also walked out of the crowd. When William Harden and others saw the old man, their expressions suddenly changed. Isn't this old man the manager of their William Castle? He was also the old man's former follower, his servant, and the steward of Castle William. Although he is a servant, this old man has absolute control over the William Castle. Master, I have been waiting for you for a long time. You are finally here. The old man also came to Li Hao, knelt down and said to Li Hao. Li Hao couldn't help but was suddenly stunned. Owner. When everyone around them heard the old man's name, their hearts were filled with turmoil. The steward of Castle William actually appeared and called the young man in front of him master. This was a recognition of the young man's identity as the master of Castle William. Li Hao nodded lightly, already roughly understanding. It seems that although William Harden and others are members of the William family, the William Castle is not in their hands, but in the hands of the old man in front of them. And owning William Castle does not mean controlling the William family. The two are separate. By the way, I also have a suicide note rewarded by the system. But at this moment, Li Hao suddenly remembered that the system had rewarded him with a suicide note. Just now, Li Hao heard that Mondo said that Mr. William once left a suicide note when he was dying. Could it be that the suicide note was from William? What did the old man leave behind? Li Hadang even took out the suicide note from the system world. The suicide note could not be opened before. It seemed to be sealed and could only be opened in a specific place. But at this moment, Li Hao took out the suicide note and suddenly discovered that the seal on the suicide note seemed to be gone. Li Hao couldn't help but move in his heart, and then he exerted force. Immediately, this suicide note was actually opened by Li Hao, and Li Hao immediately saw the contents of the suicide note. Mr. Li Hao will inherit all my wealth and all my power, become the heir to my William family. Looking at the content of the suicide note, Li Hao couldn't help but be shocked again. It was written in PoortoRich language. Li Hao, who was proficient in 18 languages, naturally recognized it. At this moment, Li Hao saw his own love in the content. Name. Damn it, I have never met this old man William. How could he write his name in the suicide note? System. It must be the system. It must be the system. Even if you become the owner of Castle William, as the heir of my William family, it's not your turn to intervene, right? At this time, William Harden's expression became ugly again, and he said to Li Hao in a deep voice. Hearing William Harden's words, a faint smile appeared on Li Hao's face. Well, I'm sorry. As the heir of the William family, you really have the final say. Li Hao said lightly. The next moment, Li Hao directly waved the suicide note in his hand. No, this is a suicide note. The suicide note left by Mr. William. It is clearly written in it that from this moment on, I will be the head of your William family. Li Hao said proudly. What? Suicide note. Is that the suicide note left by Mr. William in his hand? He is the head of the William family. How is this possible? When those people around heard Li Hao's words, they couldn't help but look extremely shocked, and uproar continued to come from their mouths. Huh? A suicide note? How is this possible? Is that a suicide note in your hand? At this moment, William Harden looked horrified and said to him in disbelief. Next to them, the elders of the William family, such as Mondo and Zach, all turned their attention to the suicide note in Li Hao's hand. There was a strange look in their eyes, and they couldn't believe it. Is this really Mr. William's suicide note in your hand? Mondo asked Li Hao directly. Take it and see for yourself. Li Hao smiled faintly and handed the suicide note in his hand directly to Mondo. The next moment, Mondo took over the suicide note, and when he saw the contents of the suicide note, he couldn't help but be shocked. Really? This is true. This is the old man's autograph and stamp. Mundo could tell at a glance that the suicide note was indeed written by the old man. Moreover, the content is indeed exactly what Li Hao just said, and it is written clearly that all the wealth, power, etc. of the old man were inherited by the young man named Li Hao in front of him. Let me see. At this time, a voice came directly to the side again. It was Sam, and there was a look of surprise in his eyes at this moment. Mundo did not hesitate and handed the suicide note to Sam. The next moment, Sam's eyes suddenly lit up. Really? It's indeed true. Sam also said in a deep voice. How is that possible? After hearing what the two of them said, Hulk, Zack and others said in surprise, but they didn't quite believe it. Take it and see for yourselves. Sam said calmly to Hulk and others. Immediately, the Hulks and others came here one after another, and then took the suicide note from Sam's hand. After a while. It's actually signed by the old man. Really? It's indeed true. A gasp suddenly came from the mouths of Hulk and others. As one of the elders of the William family, they naturally knew the old man's handwriting. They could tell at a glance that the suicide note was indeed written by the old man himself, and it was definitely not written by him. Possibly fake. In other words, the suicide note in front of me is indeed true. Several people looked at each other, then immediately looked at Li Hao, and then all bowed to Li Hao. Meet the master. Meet the master. Several people directly recognized Li Hao's identity. No. How is this possible? Elder Hulk. Elder Zack. Didn't you say you wanted my son to be your heir? Seeing this scene, William Harden's expression suddenly changed and he said sternly. Ha ha. Your son? Is he worthy? There is an old saying in China, he who knows the current affairs is a hero. We are heroes. When Hulk and Zack heard William Harden's words, they said coldly. Not to mention the authenticity of the suicide note, the strength of the woman following the young man in front of them also made them feel a sense of fear. If they violated it, they were afraid they would suffer. Didn't they see the holy light? Have all the saints of the religion been deposed? With the existence of the suicide note and the flying dragon ring Li Hao wore on his hand, several elders of the William family recognized Li Hao's identity and recognized Li Hao as the head of the William family. As a result, under the witness of countless nobles of the Sunset Kingdom, Li Hao directly became the master of the William family, took charge of the William family, and inherited the endless wealth left by Mr. William. You must know that the William family, as one of the four major nobles of the Sunset Kingdom, has accumulated immeasurable wealth over hundreds of years, but at this moment, this wealth has fallen directly into the hands of Li Hao. Now Li Hao, coupled with the wealth he already had before, it is not an exaggeration to call him rich as a country. At this moment, everyone's eyes fell on Li Hao, and Li Hao truly attracted everyone's attention. As for William Harden and his son, their fate was very miserable and they were directly expelled from the William family. As for Sophie, she returned to the William family. At this moment, Sophie still couldn't believe that this young man she met on the plane had directly become the master of the William family. The way Sophie looked at Li Hao had become different, with a touch of splendor. Let's go. After doing all this, Li Hao looked at Ye Hongxiu beside him and said directly to him. Things here are over, William Castle has taken over, and the William family has become his own, then Li Hao is ready to leave directly. Li Hao has not forgotten his main purpose of coming to Sunset Country. The fallen Holy Grail is still waiting for him to regain its glory, so Li Hao has to go to the Holy Mountain of Light. After that, Li Hao can rush to Bai Diangguo to stop Linda's marriage and take Linda back. When Ye Hongxiu heard Li Hao's words, she nodded without saying much. As a result, Li Hao moved and flew away directly in the wind. Ye Hongxiu next to him did the same thing and disappeared immediately. When Sam and others saw this scene, they were suddenly shocked. It turns out that this young man is also a strong man. They had not felt the existence of Li Hao's cultivation until now, but when they saw Li Hao's movements of flying away from the wind, they instantly felt how powerful Li Hao was. Holy Mountain of Light. It is the territory of the Holy Sect of Light. Located in the center of the Sunset Kingdom, you can see from a distance a towering mountain reaching into the sky, like a pillar of heaven, standing on the land of the Sunset Kingdom, with bright holy light shining on it. Li Hao and Ye Hongxiu were very fast. They covered a distance of hundreds of miles in less than an hour. At this moment, a huge mountain appeared in front of their eyes, which was the Holy Mountain of Light. At the foot of the Holy Mountain, someone is guarding the gate. There is a formation. Li Hao looked at the Holy Mountain in front of him and could see that there was some holy light shining in the void. Li Hao felt the existence of a formation from the void. This should be the existence of a mountain protecting formation. Li Hao and the other two saw that many people were coming in and out of the mountain gate, men and women, all with an aura of pride on their bodies. Obviously, these people are all members of the holy religion of light. Some of the people who entered directly took out a sign, and then walked directly in through the mountain gate. "Come on, let's go in too," Li Hao said directly to Ye Hongxiu, and then took out a sign, and this sign was obtained from the Holy Sun name aura, and it was regarded as a jade badge of identity. "Only with this thing can we get in. What are you two doing? Are you from our holy sect of light? Take out your qualification jade tokens." Li Hao and Ye Hongxiu came directly to the mountain gate when a man in armor spoke to them in a deep voice. "Well, we went up to the holy mountain to bathe in the holy light. This is the sign given to us by Holy Sun Moro," Li Hao said directly and took out the sign given by Moro. "It's better not to have conflicts if you can, so as to avoid trouble. If the other party knew that the two of them had defeated Moro, a big fight would be inevitable." Of course, Li Hao was not afraid. With his cultivation in the God transformation realm and Ye Hongxiu in the immortal realm beside him, no one could stop the two of them, not even the holy sect of light. When the man in armor saw the jade token in Li Hao's hand, he couldn't help but look shocked, and pretended to let the two of them in directly. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Taido. Chapter 441. Li Hao and Ye Hongxiu entered the holy mountain of light without any hindrance. They saw that there were some buildings standing on the holy mountain, like a holy palace, filled with a sacred atmosphere. Such a rich spiritual energy. At this time, Ye Hongxiu suddenly said, Li Hao nodded, and naturally felt the spiritual power filled in the air, which was very rich, even comparable to those immortal sects in Dewa. Li Hao and the others also saw figures constantly shuttling in this holy mountain residence. From their clothes and appearance, it can be seen that these people are followers of the Holy Church of Light. "Hey, beautiful lady, please ask, where is the altar of light?" At this time, Li Hao asked directly to a woman who passed by. The woman was slender, wearing a black tights, proud figure, blonde hair and blue eyes, and looked very capable. Moreover, Li Hao felt an extraordinary aura from the woman. This woman turned out to be a saint. Although she was only a junior saint, it could be seen from her age that she was only about 20 years old. Such talent was extraordinary. In the entire Holy Church of Light, she was also a leader. When the woman heard what Li Hao said, she turned around and immediately cast her beautiful eyes on Li Hao. Mary was stunned when she heard the voice coming from the side, and her brows even wrinkled slightly. She was the saint of the Holy Church of Light. Who dared to speak to her directly like this on weekdays? Mary turned her head and immediately saw a handsome young man looking at her seriously. It turned out to be a handsome young man from China. Mary's eyes suddenly brightened, and the two of them did not look like followers of the Holy Church of Light. Suddenly, Mary saw that next to this young man, there was actually a very elegant woman standing, who looked like a couple with this young man, and Mary's heart suddenly gave birth to a strange color. Immediately, Mary said directly and lightly, "Are you here to bathe in the holy light?" "Yes." Li Hao nodded. "Let's go." Mary said lightly again, and walked in one direction without looking back. She just wanted to bathe in the holy light at the altar of light. Li Hao and Ye Hongxiu saw the scene and immediately followed. After a while, Li Hao and the others followed Mary to a huge temple. I saw that the temple was filled with brilliant holy light. The temple was backed by the mountain, and it was like a door. Li Hao and the others felt that the spiritual energy here was much richer. At this moment, people kept gathering here from all directions, and then walked into the temple with expectation. As for those who came out, they had satisfaction on their faces. The next moment, Li Hao and Ye Hongxiu walked directly into the temple. Immediately, the two saw a huge change in the space in front of them. The mountain in front seemed to be hollowed out, and a huge depression appeared, which was hundreds of feet wide. There was a dazzling light that almost blinded Li Hao's eyes. Holy light. The extremely bright holy light. Altar. This is a huge altar. Li Hao and the others only saw a group of figures sitting in the huge altar in front of them. There was an extremely rich spiritual power rising from the center of the altar, and then rushing into the entire space, making the spiritual power of the entire space extremely rich. These spiritual powers were baptized by the altar, as if they were directly blessed by the power of holy light, and then descended on those people, making the momentum of those people even stronger. The scene in front of them was really spectacular. I'm afraid there were hundreds of people, and they were all filled with powerful momentum, making the scene really very lively. Bathing in the holy light. Li Hao looked at the scene in front of him, his eyes suddenly condensed. These people are the so-called bathing in the holy light, right? And the altar in front of him is the altar of light, right? Li Hao clearly saw that the altar in front of him was divided into several areas, and the number of people decreased from the inside to the outside. To be precise, there are 5 areas in total, and most of the people are standing in the outermost area. The aura of these people is the weakest. Most of them are saints, and some are not even saints. From the clothes on these people, it can be seen that these people are not even followers of the Holy Church of Light. The number of people in the second layer area inside is much smaller, only dozens of less than 100 people, and the aura of these people is much stronger than that of the outermost people. They are all saints, and the expressions on their faces are also different. Some look painful, while others look comfortable. It seems that bathing in this holy light is not a simple thing. The deeper you go, the richer the holy light is, and the stronger the oppression of the holy light is. This holy light can baptize their bodies, making their physical strength stronger, thereby improving their cultivation level. At this moment, Li Hao saw the woman next to him walk directly towards the altar, and she went straight past the crowd and walked to the outermost area, but she did not stop and went straight inside. Soon, she came to the 3rd floor area. When she reached the 3rd floor area, she found a place to sit cross-legged. In this 3rd floor area, there were only less than 10 people, and these people were at least saints, and there were even high-level saints. The high-level saint was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s or 50s. When the man raised his hand, endless holy light power gathered from all directions towards his body, and then directly entered his body, making his momentum become more and more powerful. I'll go in and try. Li Hao said directly to Ye Hongxiu beside him, and then walked directly to the altar. Bathing in the spring light is not your main purpose. Li Hao's ultimate goal is to awaken the spirit of the fallen Holy Grail, so that the Holy Grail can shine with its former glory. The next moment, Li Hao stood in the altar. In an instant, there was endless holy light power above his head, rushing down towards Li Hao's body. At this moment, Li Hao only felt that a strange spiritual power entered his body. This spiritual power was filled with a hot breath, which made the impurities in his flesh and blood and deep meridians in his body disappear. Hmm. This could not help but make Li Hao's heart have a strange color. You know, he is now a strong man in the transformation realm. His body has already undergone a transformation, and the impurities in his body have long been eliminated. It is not an exaggeration to call it a reborn. But at this moment, Li Hao actually felt that his body seemed to be purified and sublimated again. Although it was only a very subtle change, it was really shocking to Li Hao. His cultivation level could get such benefits, and for these people around him, how amazing the benefits of bathing in the Holy Spirit were. At this moment, Li Hao was still standing in the first layer area. The power of the holy light here might be very strong for those around him, but for Li Hao in the transformation realm, it seemed very thin, and Li Hao's cultivation level did not improve much. But at this time, another mechanical voice suddenly sounded. Ding dong, the host has arrived at the mission location, the altar of light. Please enter the center of the altar of light, place the fallen Holy Grail in the center of the altar of light, and awaken the sleeping spirit in the Holy Grail. You will get a surprise reward. This voice made Li Hao's heart tremble again. This is the system's prompt sound, prompting Li Hao to have arrived at the destination of the mission. In other words, the spirit of the Holy Grail can be awakened. However, Li Hao still needs to walk to the center of the altar. In an instant, Li Hao came to his senses and looked at the center of the altar. Without saying anything, Li Hao walked directly to the center of the altar. Soon, he came to the second area from the outermost area. When Li Hao walked to the second area, the people around him cast a strange look at Li Hao. Isn't this guy from our Holy Church of Light? How did he get into the second floor? There are no Chinese people in our Holy Church of Light, right? A series of surprised voices suddenly rang out, and these people looked at Li Hao in surprise. You should know that not just anyone can enter their altar of light. Even the people on the outermost layer are people from the affiliated forces of the Holy Church of Light and have obtained a quota to enter. As for the second floor, only those with the identity of the Holy Church of Light can enter. As for the third floor, ordinary believers cannot enter. Only the holy sons and daughters, or the guardians and divine messengers of the Holy Church of Light can enter to bathe in the holy light and practice. Just when these people saw Li Hao entering the second floor and were in doubt, Li Hao directly stepped over the second floor and walked directly into the third floor altar. Li Hao could clearly feel that the power of the holy light in the third layer had become much stronger. At the same time, the scorching power became more violent, and it was not something that ordinary people could bear. If the saints from the periphery came in, they would be killed if they were not careful. When Li Hao entered the third layer, he was looked at by extremely unfriendly eyes. Boy, who are you? You are not from our Holy Church of Light, right? You can't come in here. Get out. Can you come into this third layer? For a while, cold voices came from the surroundings. It was these saints who spoke to Li Hao, and their voices were full of arrogance. They were all saints of the Holy Church of Light. Only they were qualified to enter the third altar. The young man in front of him actually walked in like a young man. Isn't this looking for death? He really didn't take them seriously at all. At this moment, even Mary saw this scene, her eyebrows slightly wrinkled, and her eyes were also fixed. Isn't this guy the one who asked her for directions just now? Or was he brought in by her? Why did he come to the third level altar? When Li Hao heard the voices of these people, his face sank. Can't he come in? It turns out that entering the third floor depends on your identity. But Li Hao doesn't care so much. A faint arc appeared on the corner of Li Hao's mouth, and there was a sharp light in his eyes. These guys in front of him were all saint-level cultivators, equivalent to the Jindan realm. They were considered strong outside, but in Li Hao's eyes, they were insignificant. Li Hao completely ignored these guys, raised his foot and continued to walk towards the fourth floor area inside. Seeing Li Hao's actions, the faces of those around him turned a little green. Stop! A young man shouted at Li Hao directly, and this young man was also one of the several saints of the Holy Church of Light. However, Li Hao still did not stop walking. Damn, didn't you hear me? Are you deaf? The young man's face suddenly turned pale with anger, and he shouted at Li Hao again in anger. However, Li Hao ignored him directly. Damn it! You're looking for death. Suddenly, the young man could no longer bear it and shouted angrily. At the same time, a powerful aura burst out from his body. This young man was actually an intermediate saint. The next moment, a strong holy light power burst out from the young man, and a powerful offensive was born, instantly blasting towards Li Hao. This guy was about to take action. It seemed that the young man's offensive was about to hit Li Hao's body. At this moment, Li Hao suddenly turned his head. Get out! Li Hao shouted coldly, and the sound resounded throughout the space like thunder. There seemed to be a flash of thunder in Li Hao's eyes. Bang! A dull sound followed. Puff! The young man spit out a large mouthful of blood, and his body seemed to have suffered a huge blow. He was blown away and went to the back, and finally fell to the outside of the altar. The young man's eyes were filled with a strong sense of horror. He never thought that he would be blown away by the voice and eyes of the young man in front of him. This scene happened very quickly and suddenly. In an instant, the Holy Son of the Holy Church of Light was blown away by the Chinese youth in front of him. In the eyes of those around him, they couldn't help but feel a storm in their hearts. Mary's eyes when looking at Li Hao had changed. This scene was beyond her expectations. Who are you? The middle-aged man who was practicing in the holy light not far away also looked at Li Hao coldly at this moment, with a solemn look in his eyes, and said in a deep voice. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Taido. Chapter 442. This middle-aged man is the guardian of the Holy Church of Light, and is a powerful saint. At this moment, he looked at Li Hao coldly, with a hint of hostility in his eyes. He did not expect that the young man in front of him would actually blow away a saint with one punch. You know, that saint is also a saint. Although he is only a primary saint, he is also an outstanding existence in the entire Holy Church of Light. They are not at the same level at all. A solemn look appeared in the eyes of the middle-aged man. The young man in front of him gave him a very strong sense of threat. At this moment, a strong aura of cultivation burst out from the middle-aged man, and he looked at Li Hao fiercely. When Li Hao heard the voice of the middle-aged man, his face did not change at all. He glanced at the middle-aged man lightly, with a sharp look in his eyes. Li Hao did not speak, but looked directly at the center of the altar. The next moment, Li Hao walked directly towards the center of the altar. Then, Li Hao stepped into the fourth area in full view of everyone. At this time, Li Hao felt that the spiritual power in this area was several times stronger than the area he was in just now. However, at the moment when Li Hao stepped into the fourth area, the people of the Holy Church of Light outside suddenly showed a look of horror on their faces. Oh my God, this guy actually went to the fourth floor. The fourth floor area is a place that only the saints of our Holy Church of Light can enter. A series of uproars suddenly came from the mouths of the followers of the Holy Church of Light around. Looking for death. It was the middle-aged man who saw the scene at this moment and shouted at Li Hao in a stern voice, his eyes filled with a torrent of anger. It was unreasonable that this guy in front of him actually ignored him directly and went directly into his fourth floor. Isn't this a slap in his face in front of everyone? He is the guardian of the Holy Church of Light, a high-level saint. Seeing this guy in front of him step into the fourth level, as a guardian, he should naturally take action to capture this ungrateful guy in front of him. So, as his voice came out, a terrifying momentum burst out from his body wound. In an instant, he was enveloped by holy light, shining to the extreme, and his momentum became extremely amazing. He released the power of a high-level saint without reservation. The next moment, he moved his body and suddenly punched in the direction of Li Hao in front of him. This punch was also filled with a terrifying force, as if it caused the entire space to shake. Boom! Everyone looked straight at the scene in front of them. They could feel the pure power in the punch that the middle-aged man burst out. In an instant, the middle-aged man made a punch attack and descended directly to the position where Li Hao's body was. But at this moment, Li Hao suddenly turned his head and looked at the direction where the middle-aged man was coming from, and a sharp light suddenly burst out in his eyes. Then, a faint arc appeared at the corner of Li Hao's mouth. Don't overestimate your own ability. A faint voice came out of Li Hao's mouth, and this voice was full of disdain. As Li Hao's voice fell, a majestic force suddenly burst out from Li Hao's body, and endless spiritual power rose and circulated in the space, and the holy light power around him also condensed directly in the direction of Li Hao. At this moment, it seemed that the entire altar of light was shaken, and the sky and the earth changed color. Then, everyone saw that an invisible barrier seemed to appear around the young man's body. He stood there quietly and made a move. But in the next moment, a shocking scene appeared. Everyone saw that the Dharma protector of the Holy Light Church, that is, this middle-aged man, stopped again when his punch landed directly on Li Hao's body. Less than an inch away from Li Hao's body, it seemed to be blocked by an invisible force. Boom! Then, a dull sound rang out in the entire space. Bang! In the next moment, the Dharma protector of the Holy Light Church was also blown away by an invisible force. At this moment, the face of the middle-aged man was filled with a strong sense of horror. He felt an extremely powerful force descending on his body, and this force directly crushed him. He had only felt this force on the Holy Lords of the Holy Light Church. In other words, the young man in front of him was actually an existence comparable to the Holy Lord. Above the saint is the Holy Lord, and the leader of their Holy Light Church is a Holy Lord-level existence, and a mid-level Holy Lord. There are 3 Holy Masters in their Guangming body section. In addition to the leader of their Guangming body sect, there is also a deputy leader and a divine messenger, who is also a Holy Master, but both of them are at the primary level, comparable to the Masters of China. Puff! Immediately, the guardian of the Guangming body sect spit out a large mouthful of blood, and his body fell straight to the back, and finally landed on the periphery of the Guangming altar, and then he stabilized his body with difficulty. Master, you are actually a master. At this moment, the middle-aged man pointed directly at Li Hao and said with a look of horror. Crushing, this is a complete crushing. The opponent didn't even really take action, but he was already seriously injured. The power displayed by the other party was definitely that of a Chinese grandmaster. What are the powerful masters of China doing in their light holy religion? What's the purpose of this? For a moment, a strong doubt emerged in the middle-aged man's heart. Then, a jade metal appeared in his hand, and he crushed it quietly. And when his voice reached the ears of the surrounding members of the Holy Light Church, everyone's expression suddenly changed. Oh my God, I even defeated the Lord Protector. The strong master? How is this possible? He is actually the strong master of Great China. The Grand Master is an existence comparable to the Holy Lord. Shocking sounds suddenly came from the surrounding members of the Holy Light Church, and their hearts were greatly shocked. Grand Master? How could? Even the saint named Mary, with her beautiful eyes widened at this moment, murmured. Naturally, the small movements of this middle-aged man's hands did not escape Li Hao's eyes. However, Li Hao did not stop him and did not care. This guy should be informing others, right? But so what? At this moment, Li Hao directly focused his gaze on the center of the altar of light. Li Hao moved and stepped forward. Under the gaze of everyone, Li Hao walked directly to the center of the altar of light. He moved on again. He actually walked to the center of the altar of light, which is where only the holy lords can enter. What is he going to do? At this moment, a series of surprised and uncertain voices came out from the mouths of the followers of the light god sect around them. Everyone looked at Li Hao in confusion, not knowing what Li Hao was going to do. Li Hao didn't pay attention to the expressions of those around him at all. Li Hao sat down cross-legged, and Li Hao's eyes suddenly flashed with sparkle. The next moment, a golden holy grail appeared in Li Hao's hand. There were some strange patterns on the holy grail, exuding an extremely mysterious atmosphere, but the holy grail seemed a bit dim. Holy grail of light? No. To be precise, it should be the fallen holy grail of light. However, the moment Li Hao took out the fallen holy grail of light, an invisible force seemed to burst out from the holy grail of light. Buzz buzz buzz. Immediately afterwards, the altar of light seemed to be inspired by a strange force, and it trembled extremely. The altar is trembling, the earth is trembling, and the space is trembling. This scene happened extremely suddenly and without any warning. What's going on? Holy shit, was there an earthquake? What happened? Everyone was frightened by the scene in front of them, their expressions changed drastically, and they said in shock. It's him. What is he doing? Someone looked at Li Hao again. I discovered the problem. It seemed that all this happened because of that young man. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw the power of the holy light on the altar of light condensing towards the young man's position from all directions and condensing on the young man's palm. Holy Grail. That's the Holy Grail. But at this moment, the protector of the light holy cult fell tightly on a golden cup that appeared on Li Hao's palm. With just one glance, he recognized the golden cup. It is the holy object in the legend of their holy religion of light, the Holy Grail of Light. He had seen pictures of the Holy Grail of Light, and it was exactly the same as the golden cup in the hands of the young man in front of him. This Holy Grail of Light had disappeared many years ago. Even the Holy Lord and the others didn't know where it was lost. But even after so many years, their Holy Church of Light has never stopped searching for this Holy Grail of Light. The Holy Grail of Light in front of me was actually taken out by this young man. What a shocking thing! At this moment, when the surrounding members of the Light God religion heard his words, they also showed expressions of surprise and uncertainty, and lost their voices in shock. The Holy Grail of Light? Is this the Holy Grail of Light? That is the Holy Grail of Light, the sacred object of our holy religion of light. How is this possible? How could the Holy Grail of Light be in his hands? Hasn't the Holy Grail of Light been missing for many years? Immediately, a series of uproar came from the mouths of everyone around. Li Hao did not expect that taking out this fallen Holy Grail of Light would actually cause such a big shock. Li Hao only saw the power of holy light filled in the surrounding space, condensing towards the Holy Grail of Light in his hand, as if being directly swallowed by the Holy Grail. The next moment, Li Hao discovered that the patterns on the holy quilt suddenly bloomed with extremely dazzling light. Endless holy light shined from the Holy Grail. The originally dim Holy Grail glowed again at this moment. With an incomparable brilliance. Li Hao once again felt that from this Holy Grail, there was another extremely majestic power coming out. In the Holy Grail, there seemed to be a sleeping breath awakening at this moment. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, awaken the sleeping Holy Grail spirit, obtain the Holy Spirit divine method. At this moment, another mechanical sound suddenly sounded in Li Hao's mind. It was the system's prompt sound, reminding Li Hao that he had completed the task of awakening the Holy Grail spirit and thus obtained the system's reward. In an instant, Li Hao felt a message directly pouring into his mind, which was the Holy Spirit divine method. The Holy Spirit divine method is a special and strange method, extremely powerful. As long as it is used, it controls the sacred power and can exert an extremely vast holy light. Wherever the holy light passes, it can purify and burn all the evil magic power. Having obtained another powerful means of power, Li Hao was extremely happy. As the sleeping spirit in the fallen Holy Grail was awakened, the Holy Grail seemed to have its own consciousness, and there was also a touch of connection between it and Li Hao. At the moment when Li Hao awakened the spirit in the Holy Grail of light, a pillar of holy light shot up into the sky, and the brilliant holy light shone in all directions. At this moment, everyone stared at the scene in front of them blankly, with extremely shocked expressions in their eyes. Whether they were saints or saints, they all felt an irresistible sense of oppression coming from the Holy Grail at this moment. At this moment, in some temples on the Holy Mountain, some towering figures were also startled, and their faces also showed a touch of shock. This is the Holy Grail of Light. The breath of the Holy Grail of Light. The next moment, one figure after another went to the location of the altar of light. After a while, there were more proud figures around the entire altar of light. It's Master Adam. Master Adam was alarmed. Even Deputy Master Brooke is here. Oh my God, there's also Envoy Pike. These people are all powerful people of the Holy Church of Light, and even the top leaders of the Holy Church of Light. When everyone saw the proud figures at the head, they were shocked. At this moment, the Master, Deputy Master, and Envoy of the Holy Church of Light were all alarmed and all came here. The three powerful Masters and many saints, from top to bottom, were all alarmed by the appearance of the Holy Grail of Light. As soon as these people appeared, they set their eyes directly on the young figure in the center of the altar of light. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Taido. Chapter 443. At this moment, the three holy masters of the Guangming holy religion were all alarmed. They appeared immediately and arrived at the altar of light. Not only do the three holy masters exist, but there are also majestic figures one after another. They all exude an extremely powerful aura. They are all saints. There are dozens of people who are all members of this bright holy section. The strong men were also alarmed by the vision that appeared in the light altar, and appeared here one after another. At this moment, these powerful men who came here all focused their attention on the center of the altar of light. I only saw a young man standing there proudly in the center of the altar of light, bathed in the holy light, and his whole body became extremely transcendent. Moreover, in the hands of this young man, there is a golden holy grail, which is blooming with incomparable brilliance. At this moment, no matter whether they were saints or saints, even the three holy masters felt as if their own holy power had been aroused, and they were trying to escape uncontrollably, heading towards go to the location of the Holy Grail. Holy Grail of Light. It's the Holy Grail of Light? Oh my God, the Holy Grail of Light has appeared again. How could it be in the hands of this young man? The powerful men of the Holy Sect of Light who appeared naturally recognized the Holy Grail of Light in Li Hao's hand at a glance. For a moment, everyone was shocked. Who are you? Why is this Holy Grail in your hand? At this moment, Adam, the leader of the bright holy religion, looked at Li Hao coldly and asked Li Hao sternly. Yes, why is the Holy Grail of our light holy religion in your hands? At this time, Pike, the divine envoy of the Guangming holy cult next to him, also said sternly to Li Hao. As for the deputy leader of the bright holy cult, Brooke did not speak, but looked at Li Hao coldly, with a hint of vigilance and evil in his eyes. This Holy Grail of Light is a sacred object of their holy religion of light. It has been lost for many years. Why is it in the hands of this young man in front of me? It is very possible that their Holy Grail of Light was stolen by others. Li Hao did not expect that the awakening of the weapon spirit in the Holy Grail of Light would cause such a big shock, and even alert the entire powerful people of the Holy Grail of Light. Li Hao looked at these powerful figures in front of him, and his heart suddenly condensed. There were 3 saint-level powerhouses comparable to the Master Realm, and dozens of saint-level powerhouses comparable to the Pill Formation Realm. The strength of this holy sect of light cannot be said to be unpowerful. You must know that in the entire Great China, There are only a handful of strong masters, including those within several major immortal sections. Even if you include yourself, they can only be counted on 2 hands. That's all. And in front of a bright holy cult, 3 of them appeared directly. This background is not unprofound. Li Hao did not respond directly. At this moment, Li Hao was carefully observing the changes in the Holy Grail in front of him. With the awakening of the spirit in the Holy Grail, the entire Holy Grail seems to have become more spiritual, and there is more connection between itself and the Holy Grail. The spiritual power in the surrounding space continues to condense towards the Holy Grail. Then, Li Hao was even more surprised to find that an extremely pure spiritual power seemed to be directly entering his body through the connection between the Holy Grail and himself, turning into the power of his own cultivation. This scene shocked Li Hao's heart, and he was a little excited. Li Hao could clearly feel that his cultivation was becoming more and more powerful. He was already in the late stage of the divine transformation realm and was far away from the earthly immortal realm. It's getting closer. This is really an unexpected surprise. Boy, who are you? This Holy Grail of Light is a sacred object of my holy religion of light. Please return this Holy Grail of Light to us. At this moment, Adam, the leader of the Guangming holy religion, spoke to Li Hao in a deep voice. There was a fierce look in his eyes when he looked at Li Hao. He could feel the powerful aura that filled Li Hao's body. The aura shook his heart. The other party's cultivation level was probably no better than his. Weak. For a moment, Adam felt wary in his heart, but he didn't dare to take action rashly. As for those who were members of the Guangming cult, they all became angry when they heard Adam's words and shouted at Li Hao. Boy, didn't you humming hear our leader asked you a question? Where did you come from, this Holy Grail of Light? Tell me honestly. Otherwise, you will definitely die today. Yes, this Holy Grail of Light is a sacred object of our holy religion of light. Hand over the Holy Grail of Light quickly. At this moment, these powerful men of the Light Holy cult erupted with a powerful aura, and they crushed directly in the direction of Li Hao. They were extremely powerful, and they looked like they were about to take action immediately. When Li Hao saw this scene, he couldn't help but frown again. Where does this Holy Grail come from? Does it have anything to do with you? Since it is in my hands, it is naturally mine. Li Hao said calmly, but there was no fear in his voice. However, when this sound fell into the ears of the people in front, their expressions became even more grim. Is the Holy Grail yours? How is that possible? You're overthinking it. This Holy Grail of Light has always been a part of our holy religion of light, hundreds of years ago, but it was lost many years ago. Hurry and hand over the Holy Grail, otherwise, you will never be able to escape from our light holy religion alive today. Maybe you stole that Holy Grail of Light, right? Hand over the Holy Grail quickly, and I can leave you with an intact body. A series of arrogant voices resounded in this space again. These strong men of the Holy Church of Light spoke angrily to Li Hao at this moment. With their momentum bursting, they surrounded the entire altar of light. Li Hao looked at the scene in front of him and heard the voices of these people. His expression did not change much. A faint arc appeared at the corner of his mouth the next moment. Haha, since this Holy Grail is in my hand, it belongs to me. Even if the King of Heaven comes, I have no reason to return it. What? Do you still want to rob it? Li Hao said lightly again. His voice was full of arrogance, and he coldly swept the strong men of the Holy Church of Light around him, but he did not take them seriously at all. No point in talking. If you want to rob it, then do it, all of you come together. The Holy Grail of Light is right here, I want to see if you have the ability to snatch it from me. Then, Li Hao's voice was said again, filled with extreme pride, and Li Hao's eyes were full of disdain. When Li Hao's voice came out, the faces of all the strong men of the Holy Church of Light suddenly condensed again. Damn, so humming arrogant. Damn, looking for death. Die for me. At this moment, a series of furious voices came out from the mouths of these strong men of the Holy Church of Light. All of them were angered by Li Hao. They just felt that the guy in front of them was too arrogant and didn't take their teachings of light seriously at all. Boom. Boom. Powerful auras suddenly burst out from these strong men of the Holy Church of Light, and brilliant holy light shone up. These strong men of the Holy Church of Light fully released their cultivation aura without reservation at this moment, bursting out with amazing might, and suddenly blasted towards Li Hao. At this moment, the whole space became extremely violent. At this moment, dozens of strong men at the level of winners blasted towards Li Hao, carrying an extremely powerful offensive, and the scene was so grand. The three great saints did not make a move, but just looked at the scene in front of them lightly, and did not stop them. Come on. Just in time. Li Hao on the opposite side looked at the scene in front of him, his eyes bloomed with a sharp light, and he said proudly that Li Hao had not really made a move for a long time, and perhaps today he could let Li Hao have a hearty fight. As Li Hao finished speaking, an extremely powerful force suddenly erupted from his body, and an unparalleled momentum suddenly rose to the sky, causing the space to vibrate. At this moment, everyone felt a strong sense of oppression, because the cultivation released by the young man in front of them was actually too shocking. Li Hao looked at these powerful figures rushing towards him one after another. Li Hao used the power of his cultivation to directly mobilize the power of heaven and earth, and the whole world seemed to be under his control. The next moment, Li Hao waved his hand directly, and suddenly, the endless power between heaven and earth gathered on Li Hao's palm at this moment. Then, as Li Hao's palm fell, an unparalleled force descended directly to the front. Bang! Bang 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 bang! Then, a series of dull sounds suddenly sounded. Then, something terrifying happened. All the strong men of the Holy Church of Light who were rushing towards Li Hao were seen to have suffered heavy damage at this moment, and their bodies were blown away directly. Puff! Puff! At the same time, blood spurted out of their mouths, and they fell to the ground in the distance in the blink of an eye. Their clothes were torn, and they were covered with wounds all over their bodies, looking extremely embarrassed. Dozens of strong men in the saint realm were blown away by Li Hao at this moment. In the eyes of everyone, Li Hao just stretched out his hand and fanned them. Shocking, this scene was extremely shocking. The other people around who did not take action, looking at the scene in front of them, only felt that their hearts were greatly shocked, and were shocked to the extreme. Crush, this is a complete crush. This is not a level of existence at all. Li Hao still stood there proudly, with a surging momentum on his body, like a real god. But at this moment, the leaders of the Holy Church of Light, Adam, the deputy leader, Brooke, and the messenger of God, Pike, also flashed a solemn look in their eyes. The three looked at each other, and then there was an extremely amazing momentum, which suddenly burst out from their bodies and rushed into the sky. There was an extremely bright holy light flowing on their bodies, and the bright light enveloped the three people, making them extremely majestic and sacred, looking like three gods. The three people stood there, each occupying one side, with overwhelming power, as if the whole world was under their feet. The three saint-level strongmen stood on the three sides of Li Hao at this moment, forming a horn, and then burst out with a force that shook the whole world. Boy, you are very strong. But you are no match for the three of us. Hand over the Holy Grail of Light, and I can let you leave safely. At this time, Adam, the leader of the Holy Light Church, spoke to Li Hao in a cold voice. He naturally felt the powerful momentum of the young man in front of him, which made him feel a strong threat. If he faced him alone, he would have no chance of winning. He didn't want to make a move, but now he had to. If three people made a move, no matter how powerful the opponent was, they would definitely not be their opponents. Haha. You will know if it's an opponent after fighting. Make a move. Hearing the other party's words, Li Hao laughed disdainfully again and said arrogantly. Arrogant. Die. At this time, Pike, the messenger of the Holy Light Church, said sternly again. As Pike's voice fell, a pair of huge round hammers appeared in Pike's hands. The round hammers showed a dark gold color, and there were some strange patterns on them. At this moment, when they appeared, there was a faint purple light shining on them. I saw that Pike's body was shining with bright holy light again, and the power of holy light was directly injected into the pair of round hammers. Then, boom! Pike directly slammed the pair of round hammers in his hands together. At the moment when the two round hammers slammed together, a purple thunder light actually bloomed at this moment. This is actually a pair of thunder hammers. The next moment, Pike held the thunder hammers with both hands, moved his body, and rushed directly towards Li Hao. The whole person was like a thunder god, revealing a fierce power. Thunder power? Li Hao looked at the pair of hammers in the other party's hands, and a strange color flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect that this was a treasure with thunder power. But the next moment, Li Hao's mouth showed a hint of disdain again. Your thunder power is too weak. Li Hao said lightly. When Pike heard what Li Hao said, his eyes could not help but condense again. The other party actually said that his thunder power was too weak. This is really crazy. Just when Pike was surprised, he heard the young man in front of him shout again. Thunder! As Li Hao's voice fell. Rumble! Crackling! At this moment, in the entire void, above the 9 heavens, there was a sudden roar, and endless thunder was galloping in the sky. The next moment, these thunders actually came straight here and fell on the other party's body. Boom! I saw that the endless thunder power was all condensed on Li Hao's body, and the space where the other party was directly turned into a sea of thunder, and he was like a thunder king. Yesterday's chapter was accidentally sent to the free coupon.